The year is 2326 on Mount Siorak, and the situation is already tense. In the midst of desperation, the guards shout that if the target escapes, everyone dies. Completely bewildered, our little protagonist runs away through the forest, wondering what on earth he did. Completely panicked, the boy wants to know why they're trying to kill him. Suddenly, the escape ends when someone yells Kim Tae-ju's name, telling him to stop. Immediately afterwards, a flash of magic explodes right in his face. The pain hits his heart hard and the boy falls, cursing his own luck for having another seizure. Right there on the dirt floor, he hears his rank of second lieutenant being called. Gasping for breath, the poor fellow listens to the mockery about not being able to run without having a seizure. Then the platoon leader appears with his henchmen, calling our hero rejected trash, a mana reject. Cornered on the edge of the precipice, the lieutenant realizes that the hunt has come to an end. Desperate, he begs for answers, wanting to know the reason for that betrayal. With utter audacity, the wretched, bespectacled man proclaims that a reject should have been dead a long time ago. With the blade in his hand, the villain confesses that the boy only survived to irritate their excellency. Overcome with rage, the young man deduces that the execution order came directly from Madame Honda Mitsui. In a cowardly move, the leader orders the boy to wash his mouth out before speaking about his own stepmother. In the blink of an eye, the sword strikes our protagonist squarely in the chest. Pain tears through his body and the boy's eyes widen in shock. With a sadistic smile, the traitor decrees death, ordering him to go to hell. Thrown down the slope, the bloodied body tumbles from the ravine. Up there, the trashy guy with the glasses is celebrating that the inheritance will go to the boss's children. As a final touch, the enemies wish them a good trip to the afterlife and consider the job done. Exactly 300 years ago, history reveals how all this mess began. On that fateful day, a bizarre eclipse swallowed the sun and changed the world. With that, 90% of humanity was wiped out in a global massacre. Entire cities turned to dust, and the civilization as we knew it went down the drain. In the future of 2326, the survivors adapted to mana and rebuilt everything. However, magical beasts and poisonous plants emerged, starting a new war. Soon society was divided into strict classes based on affinity with magic. Being born into the family of a hardline general didn't help our boy much in this new era. Being the eldest son, he became the scum of the family for being a rejected mana-like figure on the verge of death. Suddenly, a mysterious voice echoes, complaining that this place doesn't look like the celestial kingdom. Trapped in a crazy mental space, the environment mixes modern ruins with pure, bizarre energy. Still with a hole in his back, our hero staggers to his feet in the crazy dimension. Extremely confused, the kid realizes that somehow he's still alive. Just ahead, a sinister old man in old-fashioned clothes walks towards him. Pulled by a green force, the old man lifts the boy into the air, demanding to see his face. Face to face, the master lets out a sound of surprise upon noticing the resemblance between the two. That one over there is none other than the poisoned demon Tangunak in the flesh. Back in his day, the guy stood up against the demonic sect that tried to swallow up the martial arts world. By drinking lethal poison, he literally dissolved the celestial leader in a pool of toxic sludge. As the absolute king of shadows, he possesses the exact same soul as our failed young man. During his final years, the old man sought immortality by meditating on the mountaintop. Almost reaching the sky, green energy dominated everything during the ascent. But during the bizarre process, the souls of the two worlds ended up intertwined. The moment they looked at the memories of the legendary fighter, they began to flood the lieutenant's mind. Shocked by the revelation, the boy asks if the old man is literally himself. Searching the boy's mind, the veteran chuckled, understanding the context. Faced with memories of humiliation on Earth, the master processes all the hero's suffering. Unfortunately, having the same absurd potential didn't prevent the kid from living in hell. Having been treated like trash his whole life, the stigma of being rejected by mana broke his spirit. The old man clearly confirms that the mental realm now belongs to both of them. To change destiny, the martial arts master hands over all his experience and power on a silver platter. With the promise of strength, the boy's gaze changes instantly. The promise is blunt, warning that with the right training he will dominate that current world. Shortly before disappearing, the veteran orders the young man to use force however he sees fit. At that moment, the boy's mind experiences a violent flash, and his vision returns to reality. Thrown into the filth and covered in blood, the demon's voice offers its final good luck. Back in the nightmare, the boy wakes up with a start, coughing up blood and calling for his master. Even though he's physically messed up, he notices that the martial arts techniques remain perfectly imprinted in his brain. Near death, the only goal now is to drag the broken body and keep breathing. To escape this situation, he needs to master the secret art of the absolute poison of chaos. By sheer luck, the surrounding forest is infested with toxic weeds and poisonous carcasses. Without any fuss, the animal swallows the pure toxic foliage in whatever way it can survive. It came down tearing, and the fierce toxin is already spreading through our warrior's veins. In the lotus position, the ancient technique comes into play, converting poison into pure Kai. By destroying the visual seals of rejection, the curse on his body completely loses its power. With a murderous gaze and a green aura, the little protagonist vows to return the suffering 10 times worse. Meanwhile, under cover of night, the treacherous guards descend the mountain in search of the corpse. Hunting in the dark, the henchmen with flashlights can't find the body at all. While strolling along, the bespectacled leader complains about the excessive delays of his useless team. Suddenly, the light illuminates the seated boy, and the troops are in utter shock that he is alive. Terrified as hell, the soldiers tremble, sensing that the kid's energy is monstrous. Surrounded by an emerald cyclone, it becomes clear that this is not mana, but pure poison energy. Terrified, the lieutenant loses his composure and yells at his henchmen to kill the hero once and for all. Unleashing magic with all their might, the henchmen try to shoot our boy without mercy. Soon, the team is shocked when they realize that the attack didn't even tickle them. Surprised by his own strength, the little prot realizes that the green aura is pure internal energy. Clenching his fist tightly, our hero feels that he finally has the necessary power in his hands. With blood in his eyes, the boy decides it's time to return the beating in kind. In a tone of pure mockery, the boy greets the lieutenant, saying it's good to see his face again. Confused by the audacity, the bespectacled villain questions whether the trash woke up out of nowhere, without even having a tattoo. Upon hearing the word awaken, the young man gives an ironic smile, amused by the other man's stupidity. In this crazy world, the awakened gain facial tattoos, and are divided into strict ranks of power. Without perceiving the real danger, the leader analyzes the boy's aura and concludes that he is just an ordinary beginner. Full of swagger, the traitor pulls out his weapon and orders the insolent brat to say his last words. Completely immersed in the poisonous Kai, the protagonist announces that he will return the favor right away. In utter ignorance, the commander laughs, asking if the poor fellow hit his head in the fall. Without wasting any time, the villain yells at the soldiers to attack everyone at once with the intention to kill. Even though it's his first real fight, our warrior's mind remains bizarrely calm. In the protagonist's mind, it becomes clear that this absurd coldness comes directly from memories of his former master. Accepting that Mana had always rejected him, the boy fully embraces the demonic path of poison. Focused on the fight, his confidence overflows, and the fighter is certain he can handle the task. Embodying the aura of the legendary master, the young man executes the art of the poison blade in a single cut. In a devastating green flash, the blow rips through the air directly towards the enemies. Right on target, one of the henchmen takes the full force of the impact and flies away like a rag doll. Switching techniques, the kid applies the blood poison palm strike, sending another doormat to the ground. With a roar of toxic Kai, the attack kicks up dust and shatters the formation of the cowardly squad. Desperate at the massacre, one of the soldiers shouts for the commander, begging for help. Pulling out a magic pistol, a sniper tries his luck, yelling for our hero to die immediately. Out of the corner of his eye, the protagonist senses the threat without breaking a sweat. Tearing through the wind, the magic bullet shoots off with pure, concentrated energy. In a fluid motion, the boy dodges the projectile, as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Cold and calculating, our hero merely murmurs that the henchman's attack was too slow. Trembling at the base, the shooter begins to stammer, not understanding what monster is in front of him. Calm amidst the chaos, the young man realizes that even the awakened turn to dust against his poison. In utter shock, the bespectacled lieutenant trembles, unable to believe that a tattooless man is using his skills. Offended by the term, the boy warns that the master would consider it an insult to call martial arts a mere skill. Staring into the soul of the trash, the hero asks with disgust what it feels like to be the victim now. Covered in blood and whimpering, the cowardly commander begs for mercy, pleading not to be killed. With no patience for crying, the little protagonist grabs the traitor's neck with sheer brute force. Consumed by grief, the lieutenant lets out a pathetic cry of agony. Lifted into the air by the strength of only one arm, the unfortunate man begins to cough and choke. Almost passing out, the villain tries to pull rank by asking if the kid knows who's behind everything. Ignoring the threat, the grip only tightens as the green Kai suffocates the target. Desperate, the trash repeats the question, trying to use the lady's name to save his own skin. Spitting blood, the lieutenant groans that Mitsui the witch will take revenge if he dies. With a macabre smile, our hero assures us that he has no intention of going down silently. Far from there, the story takes us to the Samhan Empire, formed by the union of 3 Asian countries. Right in the Paju region lies the hometown of our protagonist, and the center of all this political filth. In a luxurious office, an officer receives the bizarre report about the boy's alleged death. Reading the documents, the soldier reports that the traitorous lieutenant pushed the hero off the cliff during the mission. According to official documents, the boy miraculously survived and then disappeared off the map. To complete the fabricated story, the entire squad of the bespectacled lieutenant was reported to have been devoured by monsters. Upon closer investigation, the bigwigs discover that the execution order came from infiltrated officers. Surprised by the information, the commander frowns, suspicious of this shady alliance. Putting his hand to his face, the general solves the riddle instantly and murmurs Madame Mitsui's name. Known as a viper, the shrew is the daughter of a wealthy family and the mother of our protagonist's half-siblings. For years, the woman waited patiently for the curse of Mana's rejection to end with the boy. Because the boy stubbornly insisted on reaching the age of 29 alive, the witch lost patience and ordered the crime. Upon further analysis, the officer confirms that the foreigner's cash financed the entire dirty operation. With a grimace, the commander realizes that enemy influence is tainting the ranks of the army. Tired of this family headache, the man laments the toxic ambition of the damned woman. In the general's mind, the image of the manipulative stepmother surrounded by her spoiled children makes everything clear. It becomes obvious that the villain's only goal was always to clear the way to steal the family inheritance. Using the influence of her mobster father-in-law, the witch spared no expense in trying to eliminate our hero once and for all. Assessing the situation, the general decides to hush up the matter since the family desperately needs the money from their wealthy allies. Sighing deeply, the commander agrees that he has no choice but to sweep this mess under the rug. Accepting the corrupt order, the subordinate stands up and announces that he will clean up the investigation's tracks. With the door slamming shut, the office falls silent again as the boy's fate is completely ignored. Alone in the room, the boy's own father justifies that a rejected child would die soon from overload anyway. Even knowing that his wife has gone too far, he prefers to secure the inheritance for his children rather than protect his eldest son. With his mind full of excuses, the cowardly general murmurs that he will probably never see his son's face again. Without a shred of remorse, the father decides not to send for searches and falsely wishes that the boy could live free for the rest of his time. Far from all this falsehood, the scene cuts to the monster zone where our protagonist faces a new city. Amazed by the view, a fellow hunter comments on how surreal the sight is from up there. To start a conversation, the team leader asks if it's the first time the newcomer has seen the whole city like this. Agreeing humbly, the disguised boy warns that he hasn't been in that area for very long. Eager to tell the story, the leader explains that the free city was just a village before the empire took over everything. Due to the absurd number of magical beasts in the region, the emperor transformed the place into a brutal fortress against the monsters. With the government cutting taxes on monster parts, the hunt has become too lucrative a business. Like a magnet for awakened individuals, the region quickly became a paradise for those seeking to get rich quick. Tired of the little speeches, the little protagonist cuts off the boss, demanding that he get straight to the point of the conversation. Faced with the warning about dangerous criminals in the area, our hero simply smiles calmly. In the boy's mind, it becomes clear that despite being talkative, the team leader is a cool guy. Straight to the past, memory brings back the exact moment when his life changed. After surviving the assassination attempt, our hero mercilessly annihilated his traitors. With no ties to the army, the goal became to find a place to get stronger. Thus, fate guided his steps to the gates of the free city of Garai. Because of its weak imperial authority, the region is perfect for evading any pursuit by the trash family. To improve the place, it's infested with wild animals and toxic herbs, ideal for martial arts training. Faced with a bizarre idea, the young man remembers the absurd gift he received near his death. Straight from the Murim world, the master of poison shared not only his soul but all his demonic power. In the end, the assassination attempt ordered by Mitsui, the witch, turned out to be a huge favor. With no money in his pocket, the boy uses the job of porter as disguised training. During the walk, the leader asks who seems to be the most dangerous member of the group. Addressing a red-haired swordswoman directly, the veteran praises her, calling her a pure professional. According to the boy's calculations, she's at the regular level, one step above the novice hunters. But the protagonist's focus goes straight to a woman who exudes a bizarre flow of mana. Suddenly, a cry of warning rips through the air, alerting people to a giant, variant mesquite. Without showing any sign of fear, our hero simply observes the bizarre flying insect. With blood in her eyes, the red-haired warrior tells everyone to get out of the way, wanting to resolve this alone. Thanks to her magical power, the woman prepares a powerful, fiery attack with her weapon. In an explosive burst, a massive fireball flies toward the flying pest. The impact is too brutal. It instantly chars the insect, turning it into barbecue. Confused by the team's panic, the boy discovers that the monster's bite drains the victim's mana. Because of this draining, many people have already kicked the bucket, and soon the mysterious sorceress will fall dead in the bushes. Faced with the girl's condition, the protagonist realizes that the symptoms perfectly match a poison from his martial memories. Without hesitation, he decides to approach the fallen body to check the theory of toxic Kai. As his hand touched her back, green energy flowed, and the boy immediately noticed something shocking. Far away, the confusion continues as the hunters tremble, realizing they are outside the insect habitat. With the terrible scenario, the leader orders the team to retreat, because even the main fighter ended up being knocked down. At that exact second, the undergrowth shakes violently, and the chief yells for everyone to draw their weapons. From among the bushes, a harmless little rabbit emerges, breaking all the tension in the group. Relieved by the scene, the mercenaries begin to laugh at their own foolish faces when faced with the weak beast. In a calm tone, the veteran asks the group to relax and focus on the retreat without panicking. But the tranquility is short-lived when the redhead's eyes widen, realizing there's a real threat. Like a tractor, a battalion of armed orcs emerges from the woods, thirsting for human blood. In a brutal attack, the monsters charge forward, causing everyone to run in utter despair. Ready for combat, the fire warrior ignites her hands, promising to handle the situation alone. Worried about the cargo, the boss shouts our hero's false name, ordering him to run away. Cold as ice, the protagonist announces that he will stay behind and tells the old man to get out of here immediately. In desperation, the leader pulls the boy by the arm, shouting that baggage handlers don't fight. Aware of the numerical disadvantage, the little protagonist insists on helping even as the boss begs for escape. With no time to discuss, the kid promises he'll provide support from afar without risking a one-on-one confrontation. Accepting his stubbornness, the boss tells him not to die under any circumstances and earns a smile in return. In the midst of the fighting, the redhead realizes that the monsters are attacking with a tactical formation that is too advanced. Like a rocket, the flamethrower goes straight for the chest of a big greenish creature, charring the beast. Out of nowhere, a warning cuts across the battlefield, alerting that a creature is heading straight for civilians. Furious at the opening, the fighter turns everything around, ready to devour the intruding monster. With a brutal flaming barrier, the mage incinerates the creature before it can harm anyone in the charge. From afar, the boy watches the intense fire raging, illuminating the middle of the forest. Distracted by the rescue, the swordswoman doesn't notice the mortal danger until she hears the shout to duck. Stealthily, a gigantic orc emerges from behind her, bringing down a lethal axe blow with maximum force. As the blow descends, the scene abruptly cuts to the legendary immortal realm floating high in the heavens. Facing the celestial landscape, the Master of Poison reflects that it has already been a month since he arrived there. Without falsehood, the old man acknowledges that this divine ascension would be impossible without the encounter with our protagonist. Thanks to memories of Earth, he absorbed modern knowledge and used it to break through his own barriers. Due to this exchange of minds, the veteran finally achieved enlightenment and became a martial god. But the heavenly peace ends quickly when a magic projectile grazes his face. Completely irritated, the old man yells that this paradise is actually a prison for crazy old people. Straight into the skies, a crazy immortal flies at full speed, laughing like a madhouse patient. Through the air, dozens of untouchable legends exchange magic and behave like true wild animals. Far from having peace, the master laments having spent his entire life becoming the caretaker of a flying asylum. Amidst the brutal exchange of blows, he decides to focus on the positive side of that widespread chaos. In the midst of the chaos, the old man wonders if the boy from Earth is using divine power correctly. Saddened by our hero's wretched past, the pen pounds heavily in the chest of the former master. To survive in that modern world, the young man will need to surpass the limits of all the great masters. Full of hope, the veteran wants the protagonist to become a monster quickly, so they can meet again someday. Out of nowhere, a brick of pure energy hits the old man on the head, bringing the nostalgic moment to a close. With eyes blazing, the venom demon lunges at the complacent immortal, who cowardly threw away his sword. Focused on killing the old man, he pursues the swordsman who flees laughing hysterically through the celestial clouds. Back on Earth in the nightmare forest, the wall of fire disappears and the red-haired warrior retreats, spitting blood. With her guard wide open, the woman raises her eyes and freezes, completely overcome by absolute terror. Gigantic and furious, the alpha orc brings down his axe with all his might, ready to split the female fighter in two. At the last second, the redhead closes her eyes, preparing to become orc mincemeat. Out of nowhere, a green explosion lights up the air, and the monstrous weapon jams mid-strike. Revealing the hidden art, the protagonist summons a rain of golden coins bathed in pure toxin. Tearing through flesh like paper, the projectiles pierce the greenish squadron and bring down the hulking men. With the damage done, the coins are embedded in the ground, leaving an absurd trail of destruction. Cold and calculating, our kid admires his own work, surprised by the lethal force of the area attack. Looking at the fallen fighter, he laments that his intention was to save her, but she ended up passing out in the process. Aware of the danger, the hero realizes that displaying such power without a tattoo would draw too much attention. Since the secret of mana rejection needs to remain hidden, he decides to disappear before the rest of the team returns. Laughing at his own evolution, the kid realizes that today's worries are luxuries for someone who was a nobody a month ago. Without hesitation, he grabs his pouch and begins to gather the ammunition scattered across the undergrowth. Complaining about the manual labor, the boy admits that the secret technique is terrible for erasing traces. According to the memories, on the 7th level it's possible to collect the coins with your mind, but for now the process is manual. Searching for the last coin, the young man scours the ground, frustrated by the disappearance of his combat money. Finally, he spots the glint of gold trapped in the bark of an old tree in the middle of the dark undergrowth. When the coin is pulled, the surprise is great when the body of the variant mosquito falls to the ground along with it. Without a second thought, the protagonist's hand glows and he concentrates the poisonous aura around his palm. Absorbing the essence of the creature, the boy feels the raw power of the plague mingling with his own kai. At that very moment, he confirms that this creature is exactly what is responsible for taking down the red-haired swordswoman. Thanks to the absorbed energy, the protagonist's body perfectly assimilates the monster's substance. Deducing the effect, the conclusion is obvious, since the creature's attack causes a violent dispersion of mana. Emphasizing martial knowledge, the hero compares the toxin to a classic poison that used to cripple warriors in the past. Being a cruel poison with no known cure in the modern world, the victim is left defenseless and vulnerable. Luckily, the kid knows the exact recipe for the antidote if he finds the right herbs in the mountains of Earth. Determined to make money from the cure, he devours the creature's toxic remains with a macabre smile on his face. Swallowing the raw poison, the animal warns that the taste isn't the best, but the sacrifice is worthwhile. Wiping his lips, he rejoices, for soon the money will pour in when the antidote is ready. With their pockets secured, the plan is to test the cure as quickly as possible upon arrival at base. Suddenly the ground shakes violently, and a gigantic shadow wielding a colossal axe emerges from the bushes. With blood in his eyes and a gruff voice, the alpha orc points the weapon, declaring that he will crush the human right there. Facing the enormous beast, our little protagonist immediately realizes that it's no ordinary monster. Since he was an elite creature, the boy's eyes widened, as he had only heard rumors about these intelligent beings. Concerned about the bizarre invasion, he wonders what on earth is attracting so many monsters to that mountain. Without giving the hero a chance to reason, the giant roars for the human's death and brings the axe down right in the middle of his face. The force of the impact is so brutal that it rips the boy from the ground with every movement. Flying like a rag doll, the protagonist tears through the earth, opening a huge trench with his body. Sliding across the destroyed ground, he finally breaks, impressed by the master-level strength of that abomination. Pulling the coins again, the boy recognizes the animal's advantage, and decides to test its resistance in practice. Unleashing a rain of flying darts, the magic blades charge straight at the big guy. A deadly flash cuts through the air, indicating the violence of the surprise attack on the enemy's face. But to the boy's shock, the projectiles ricochet off the beast's steel chest without causing any real damage. Squinting, our hero realizes that the monster's skin is as hard as a rough diamond. Realizing the futility of the attack, he quickly understands that coins won't pierce that war tank. With no lighter options, he activates the densest venom, questioning whether the blood palm will be enough. With the beast snorting in front of him, the boy curses his own hesitation in not using the ultimate direct strike. Furious with himself, the little protagonist remembers that his former master would have humiliated him for doubting divine power. Realizing his own mistake, the kid admits that he underestimated the monster, thinking it would be as easy as the others. Summoning demonic fury, he swears to the world that he will smash that beast's face until it can't get up anymore. Coating his hands in pure dark kai, the blood seal palm begins to glow with murderous intent. In an insane leap, the boy crosses the air and strikes the alpha orc in the chest, pushing the beast backward. The burst of energy sweeps away the dust and illuminates the battlefield with a green and red flash. But despite the crushing impact, the big guy just plants his feet on the ground, kicking up dust and slowing the blow. Facing the intact monster, the protagonist feels the weight of failure, discovering that the poison did not penetrate the beast's flesh. Gasping for breath, he realizes that the attack was too shallow to break through the tank's magic resistance. With a sadistic grin and clenched fists, the boy vows to beat the beast until its natural armor shatters completely. But suddenly, a sequence of red cuts tears through the alpha monster's body in milliseconds. In total shock, the protagonist watches the indestructible beast being chopped to pieces and crumbling before his eyes. Confused, the boy notices that someone smashed the elite to pieces in the blink of an eye, and without much effort. Observing the silhouette in the dark, the boy concludes that this is the work of a masterclass hunter. Without further ado, an arrogant voice cuts through the silence, demanding explanations from the hero for being there in the middle of the bloodbath. Facing the pile of dead orcs, the newly arrived master wants to know if it was the kid who caused that massacre. With a look of pure disgust, the dandy says that trash without tattoos shouldn't be able to kill monsters. In total silence, our hero assesses the guy's arrogance without showing any defensive reaction. Demanding answers in an authoritarian manner, the preppy guy tries to intimidate the boy with his own superior aura. Sensing the same idiotic tone from the family, the little protagonist remains calm while trying to come up with a quick excuse. When he was about to send the famous excuse, the caravan leader appeared in the bushes shouting the porter's name. Relieved at the sight of the entire boss, the protagonist points at the master and blames him for the deaths in order to avoid surrendering. Taking a deep breath, the old man bows reverently, announcing that thanks to that mysterious night, the team survived. Recognizing the savior, the team gathers and thanks Master Lee Yonghak for the deliverance. Taking advantage of the loophole, the narration explains that the city does not obey the empire, but rather a strong and autonomous committee. Being one of the main vote-getters, this Lee guy is a really important lord in the area's security guild. To stay alive, everyone in the region needs to pay him tribute, so respect is a matter of basic survival. Pulling the boy by the shirt, the boss demands that the kid bow his head and thank the bigwig for saving them. Curious, the dapper master crosses his arms and asks how a mere porter managed to survive in the middle of an orc attack. Laughing to disguise his true feelings, our hero tells the perfect tall tale, claiming that an incredible sorceress decimated everything before collapsing. Maintaining his superior pose, the slick master announces that the cleaning crew is already on its way. Not wanting to mingle with the commoners, the lord turns his back and calls his partner to leave. Nodding her head, the shield maiden follows the chief through the dark forest. Before disappearing into the shadows, the rich man sends a roundabout warning to the boy, asking him not to cause trouble in the city. Laughing to himself, the master thinks he's the greatest, believing he's left everyone speechless with the sorceress's lie. Relieved, the old man takes a deep breath and comments on how lucky the protagonist was to have avoided conflict with the dangerous bigwig. Confirming the bad reputation, the kid points out that the guy is known for being corrupt and accepting bribes from criminals. Justifying the situation, the team leader explains that he only went with the bigwig out of sheer desperation for survival. Being a powerful guildmaster, crossing his path is like signing your own death warrant. With the fight over, the team packs their bags before new monsters smell blood. Deep in thought, the hero reflects on his own strength since merging with the master of poison. Feeling ashamed, the boy admits that he's only using divine Kai to pretend to be an ordinary awakened being and hide himself. Determined to change the script, the boy focuses his green eyes, vowing that from now on things will be different. Showing the scenery, the view returns to the free city where real hospitals are almost non-existent. Because the Empire doesn't care about the region, only the worst clinics operate, staffed by mercenary doctors. Being a bunch of butchers in lab coats, the citizens avoid hospitals like the devil avoids the cross. To compensate for this lack of infrastructure, the city has a pharmacy on every corner selling dubious potions. Regulated or not, these stores meet the needs of those who need to get back to hunting quickly. With millions in revenue, pharmacies have become gold mines for those who know what they're doing. That's precisely why the protagonist decides to knock on the door of a shop to sell his new creation. Focused on profit, the kid stayed up all night mixing rare herbs to arrive at the perfect recipe. Thanks to this effort, he reached level 3 of the art of poisoning and finally completed the so-called magic antidote. Smiling at the illuminated sign, the creature already envisions its bank account bursting with money. Upon entering the pharmacy, the clerk greets the customer in a friendly voice, asking what they are looking for. Cutting to the chase, the hooded hero immediately asks if the owner of the establishment is present. Confused by the approach, the attendant asks the customer to repeat the question. Maintaining his mysterious pose, the boy reveals that he didn't come to buy anything, but rather to sell top-quality merchandise. At that very moment, an old bearded man is listening to the conversation from the back door. Assessing the situation from afar, the old man adjusts his posture, realizing that the matter could lead to something interesting. Coming out of the stockroom, the man introduces himself as Beak, the director of the pharmacy and administrator of the local orphanage. Without beating around the bush, the boy gets straight to the point, stating that he came to offer a medicine he made himself. Sighing wearily, the old man grumbles, thinking it's just another snake oil salesman trying to rip him off. With little patience, the pharmacist tells the boy to look for manual labor if he wants to earn an honest living. Ignoring the rejection, the protagonist places the dark bottle on the counter, immediately drawing the owner's attention. Almost turning his back, the old man freezes in place upon hearing what this mysterious potion is all about. With wide eyes, the old man asks for a repeat, thinking he heard nonsense. Cold and direct, the kid confirms that it is a lethal antidote against mutant mosquitoes. Silence falls over the pharmacy as the director processes the sheer absurdity of what the kid just said. Explaining its practical use, the protagonist informs that the stuff should be drunk preventively before the hunt. To conclude the advertisement, he guarantees that the potion's protection lasts an incredible 10 hours in the body. Furious, the old man slams his fist on the counter, calling the boy an insolent brat who can't even lie properly. Without losing his composure, the hero pulls out 2 more vials and throws them on the table, showing that he has a ready supply. Challenging the old man, he tells the guy to test the thing first before judging. By leaving a card with their phone number, the protagonist sets an expiration date for the offer. Turning his back, he warns that if he doesn't receive a call by midnight, he'll take the green gold to the competitor down the street. Alone in the pharmacy, the old man and the clerk are shocked by the audacity of the mysterious boy. Scratching his head, the shop owner grumbles, calling the salesman a complete lunatic. Out of nowhere, a big hunter pulls the bottle off the counter, extremely curious about the promise of the miracle cure. Known for being addicted to potions, Leader Park examines the small vial, asking if the old man is going to close the deal. Hesitant, the pharmacist doesn't know what to answer as he stares at the dark liquid. Taking charge of the situation, the strong hunter warns that the easiest way to find out the truth is by turning the bottle over. Before anyone can stop him, the brute uncorks the potion right there at the counter. In the old man's mind, the idea of an antidote for the mosquito seemed like a delusion, but the boy's arrogance planted doubt in his head. Desperate, the shop assistant begs the hunter to stop, warning him that it could be pure poison. Ignoring the girl, the giant pulls the liquid from the bottle's neck, while his eyes gleam with excitement. Swallowing the whole thing at once, the madman becomes a willing guinea pig for our protagonist's homemade potion. Seconds later, the crazy guy wipes his mouth and announces, with the most bewildered look on his face, that the stuff tastes like water. The pharmacist, in disbelief, repeatedly expresses surprise at the lack of immediate effect. Accustomed to ingesting strong magic, the big guy says he didn't feel any burning Kai in his body. Concluding the test, The addict laughs, calling the invention pure charlatanism since it was nothing more than a tasteless sip of juice. Without a second thought, the hunter throws the empty bottle in the trash and declares that the boy is just a cheap trickster. Disappointed, the pharmacist looks at the box with the other bottles, feeling like a fool. Changing the subject, Leader Park places a basket full of healing potions on the counter and asks for the usual bill. The excited giant jokes that the fake water test delayed his departure for today's hunt. Demanding the high price tag, the old man tries to explain the price increase, but the customer doesn't care and hands over the money. Waving goodbye, the big guy leaves the pharmacy, heading towards the hellish monster zone. Picking up the test vials from the trash, the old man laments having believed for a second that the miracle could be real. Far away in the dense thicket, the giants group plunges into the middle of the demon's nest. Chaos reigns supreme as mutant beasts with sharp teeth attack from all sides. Going all out on defense, the shield tank raises a magical barrier, absorbing the brutal impact of the beasts. Pulled to the limit, a hunter from the team screams, not understanding what on earth a demonic marten is doing in that area. Delivering sword blows, she attempts to slice through the seemingly endless beasts. By cutting off heads, the swordsman signals that the escape route is clear and orders everyone to retreat immediately. With a wound on her arm, the warrior desperately warns that a mosquito's venom has hit her veins directly. Holding the fort on the front line, the giant hunter prepares the final blow, warning that he only needs to kill one more abomination to escape in peace. In desperation, the paralyzed fighter watches a winged creature emerge, tearing through the sky directly toward her. His eyes widening, the giant instantly understands that this is not a normal creature, but rather the wretched variant mosquito. Fearing the worst, the big guy recognizes that if he gets stung there, the overlapping venom will ruin the fight completely. By taking responsibility, the leader knows that the entire team will be turned into monster mincemeat if he falls in battle. Completely screwed, he feels his shield weakening and wonders if he's already been poisoned. Recalling his mistake, the hunter realizes that the marten's intrusion has diverted everyone's focus from the hunt. As their insect-proof suits ripped in the middle of the fight, they were exposed to all kinds of venomous attacks. Blaming himself, the leader admits that blind panic made him forget about the air hazard until it was too late. The team's situation had been bad ever since Marta blocked the route and forced the fight directly with the insects in the air. With the demonic creature on its back and mosquitoes in front, it became a fight to live or be devoured right there. Out of nowhere, the warrior screams in terror, telling the captain to look behind him before making the deadly attack. Feeling the buzz, the giant freezes, aware that there is no time to dodge the variant mosquito in midair. Shouts echo across the battlefield as the team descends into despair, watching their leader's imminent downfall. With the insect-like beast aimed at the back of his neck, the leader holds his breath and waits for the pain to tear through his back. Like a jet stream, the mosquito flies, thirsty for blood, ready to sink its monstrous stinger. Suddenly, a hollow, iron-like clang sounds, and the reinforced mana barrier shatters the mosquito's stinger. Striking the shield, the beast smashes to the ground, but the warrior's defensive aura shatters entirely afterward. Surprised by his luck, the big guy realizes that the armor has given way, but the Kai within his body remains 100% intact. At the same time, the leader's memory searches for the reason why he didn't lose mana from the variant creature's attack. Like a snap, the memory of the charlatan at the pharmacy comes rushing back, and he realizes what he actually took. Laughing at his own stupidity, the captain yells at his friends to focus on the fight, and warns that the matter is not over yet. Gripping the axe with all his might, the brute smiles, knowing that the little juice saved his life at the crucial moment. Now protected from the poison, he relies on his fists and charges at the marten, destroying the creature with punches and shouts. Hours later, the old man's pharmacy is already closed and dark when the door suffers a bizarre impact. Breathless and with wide eyes, the hunter bursts into the place, ordering the owner to sell the entire stock of the boy's blessed antidote. The next day, the scene cuts to the famous Garai market, bustling with shopkeepers shouting offers to wealthy hunters. Passing by a monstrous meat stall, the protagonist hears the absurd promotions of the free region. Display cases filled with armor forged from carcasses and precious stones showcase the high level of equipment available there. Amazed by the activity, the disguised boy admits that he hadn't imagined the size of the fair dedicated to killing freaks. Overjoyed, the animal walks through the market, celebrating his decision to take the day off to go shopping. In the mind of our protagonist, The fact that he had manufactured the antidote marked a brutal evolution in the practice of the art of absolute poison. Upon reaching the third level of the technique, he learned to purify and use toxins as regenerative vital energy. But all this newfound strength exhausted the body, which was ill-accustomed to the limits of divine Kai. Going back to the flashback, the kid is received like a king in the pharmacy's VIP room by the older owner. Seated at the comfortable table, the hero drinks an expensive coffee and asks ironically if the merchandise was to his liking. Trembling with emotion, the old pharmacist declares that the damn medicine will change the hunts on Mount Jiri forever. Treating the boy as a savior, the man immediately asks how many bottles the protagonist has in stock for immediate sale. With absurd calm, the kid reveals that he produced no less than 60,000 bottles in the first batch. Shocked by the number, the director's eyes widen as the hero assures him that he can manufacture more on demand. Laughing to himself, the old man pulls out the papers of the agreement and announces that the paperwork for the imperial registration is already in order. By charging a high price, the idea is to sell each bottle for 50,000 bucks, guaranteeing an enormous profit margin for both parties. Calculating the light taxes of the free city, the protagonist realizes that he will have about 27 billion won net for his account. Impressed by the numbers, the hero realizes that the big money arrived much sooner than he imagined. Upon signing the final contract, the boy asks for an extra detail, offering to donate the pharmacy's profits directly to the old man's orphanage. With that, the news spread like wildfire through the streets, and today the director is highly respected, helping needy children from the entire region. Revealing his own nobility, the boy states that the idea of the orphanage is just a way to help street children. Jaw-dropping at the generosity, the old pharmacist treats the protagonist like a saint and thanks him profusely. Shaking hands, the contract is sealed, and the boy's share of the money is transferred without problems or strings attached. Flush with cash, the kid celebrates that the advance money is already solving the toughest problems of his daily life. Finishing the flashback, the hero decides to use his fortune to give his equipment that well-deserved upgrade at the Garai market. Suddenly, a giant bald brute grabs his arm, insisting that a young man needs to carry a weapon. Surprised by the crazy guy's attitude, the protagonist glares, not understanding what the bodybuilder's deal is. Excited beyond measure, the big blacksmith refuses to let go of the boy, insisting that his little shop is the best in town. Sucking up, the bald guy calls the protagonist handsome and immediately throws out that special discount spiel for the first purchase. Trying to escape the clingy salesman, the hero assures him that he already has everything and doesn't even want to look at the display. Offended by the refusal, the thug shakes hands and drags the poor fellow into the establishment by force. Using absurd force, the blacksmith pulls the boy into the shop, shouting that the art of steel attracts dreams and epic romances. While trying to hold the base, the little prot feels the man's absurd pressure and realizes that he is incredibly strong for an ordinary blacksmith. Trying to channel Kai into his legs, the boy is pulled anyway and wonders if that crazy, muscular guy is a master in disguise. Leaning against the counter, the protagonist's eyes widen at the sight of the hand-forged weapons that gleam spectacularly in the sunlight. Impressed by the details, the hero runs his hand over the blade and praises the blacksmith, who swells with pride, declaring himself the best in the city. Agreeing with the compliment, the kid notices that the bodybuilder's technique is no joke, and the weapons are perfect for hiding. Taking a scroll from his jacket, the protagonist hands it to the bald man and challenges him to forge 100 pieces with the design printed on it. Reading the scribbled diagram, the blacksmith raises an eyebrow in surprise upon seeing willow leaf daggers used as the basis for the deadly throw. Analyzing the crazy project, the professional concludes that the mana steel material would be up to the task and would pierce the armor of most strong monsters. Confident of success, the blacksmith asks if the boy wants to order the entire batch, but the boy still hesitates, wanting to know how long it will take to make them. Full of enthusiasm, the bald man claims he'll deliver everything quickly and asks back how much the protagonist can afford for the game. Putting the numbers on the table, the bodybuilder charges 250 million won for the absurd amount and demands advance payment to guarantee it. Finding the bargain incredible, our protagonist agrees immediately and sends the full amount for the job to close the deal right away. By signing the purchase agreement, the blacksmith agrees to send test samples of the first batch of magic knives within a few days. Leaving the Forja MX shop happily, the boy thinks about the next step in his inventory with the daggers in progress. Remembering his old master who carried poisons in the sleeve of his overcoat, he decides to look for something similar to increase his ammunition capacity. Looking at regular clothing stores, the kid might even think about a long combat overcoat called hanbok that's found in fancy places. But he quickly dismisses the idea, stating that wearing old Murim clothing would attract more attention than confronting the leader in the central square. Deciding to focus on a disguised suit of armor full of magical pockets, he enters a black tent and whispers to the owner, wanting to see contraband merchandise. Reading a pamphlet about the Flame Boutique, the boy discovers that the shop specializes in magical beast-hide armor. Analyzing the mannequin with a stylish combat overcoat, the hero confirms that it's exactly what he needs for the poison stash. From afar, the grand free city of Garai rises with its colossal walls and futuristic skyscrapers amidst the wilderness. Observing the view from a balcony, a bespectacled socialite admires the concrete fortress of the military area. Curious, the girl comments that the walls built in the year 2326 are a total overkill in terms of security. Confirming the gossip, the prim and proper rich woman announces that only those who arrive by special boat after the bridges have collapsed can enter the fortress. Complaining about privileges, the blonde, bespectacled lady criticizes how the rich and powerful hide there under the guise of maximum protection. Changing the subject, the bodyguard tries to calm her boss by reminding her that they came all this way just for a blessed fox fur coat. Fascinated by the merchandise, the wealthy woman explains that the skin of the Siberian ghost fox is too rare and impossible to hunt. Smiling like a fool, she admits that it was worth crossing the country just to buy the chic coat that regulates body temperature all year round. With her grandfather's black credit card in hand, the blonde boasts that she has permission to spend money as much as she wants. Upon reaching the final stop, the flying bus drops the ladies off directly in the center of the Garai market. Descending with a swagger, the wealthy woman orders her secretary to go straight to the Flame Boutique to retrieve the trophy. Meanwhile, our protagonist assesses the overcoat in the shop window, finding the material worthy of replacing the old muslin clothes. Upon entering the upscale store, he is greeted by a sales assistant, who bows politely right at the door. At the same time, the two rich women arrive, and the blonde lady is immediately disgusted, thinking that a poor man is trying to steal her purchase. Emerging from the back of the store, the red-haired boutique owner appears dazzling to greet her customers. Staring at the boy, the woman freezes in surprise and asks if he is the same T-Jew, the porter, from that tragic day. In the protagonist's mind, it dawns on him that the shop owner is none other than the warrior mage he saved from the variant mesquite. With his heart racing, the boy panics internally because she reminds him of him and the orc invasion. Relaxing the mood, the redhead laughs and explains that acting as a hunter was just a side job to unwind and escape the routine of the store. Hiding his cold sweat, the hero tries to say goodbye by spouting a classic excuse and saying he's already on his way out. Thinking quickly, he knows that killing orcs and disappearing into the woods is too suspicious, and he doesn't want to attract the guild's attention. But the owner won't let him escape under any circumstances and grabs his arm before he steps onto the street. Stuttering with emotion, the redhead looks deep into the boy's eyes, asking directly if he was the one who saved her from certain death. Caught red-handed, the protagonist admits that he thought the dapper master had taken all the credit for killing the entire horde. Holding his coat tightly, she says it would be foolish to believe that the hero was just an ordinary porter. Recalling the massacre, the sorceress confesses that she found it very suspicious that the hero stayed behind alone when everyone else fled in fear. Bowing in gratitude, the woman cries with relief at having managed to recover the body of her boyfriend, killed in the hunt, thanks to the group's survival. Uncomfortable with so much gratitude, the hero tries to calm the sorceress, asking her not to cause a scene in the middle of the store. Wiping away her tears, the redhead composes herself and asks aloud how she can repay the gratitude for having her life spared. Cutting through the exciting atmosphere, the blonde socialite yells from the back, asking if the service will take all day. Startled, the boutique owner turns around and apologizes, rushing to attend to the stressed-out wealthy woman. Trembling with rage, the redhead bows and swallows her pride in front of the demanding customers. Gathering courage, the sorceress drops the bombshell, announcing that unfortunately she can no longer sell the fox fur coat that the blonde came to collect. Shocked by her audacity, the boy's eyes widen as he understands that she's refusing the sale because of him. The spoiled rich girl freaks out and yells in the owner's face, demanding explanations since she sent the advance instructions and all that was left was to pay the bill. Trying not to lose face, The warrior justifies herself by lying that the item was already reserved for another important person, and that there was a system error. Realizing the lie, the bodyguard steps forward, assuring her boss that she will compensate her for the mistake if she closes the deal now. With her patience at its limit, the rich woman tells the employee to shut up and demands to take the product by force. Thinking he caused a huge problem for her business, the hero decides to quietly slip away, calling the saleswoman to get out of the mess. Seeing the fleeing customer, the blonde points her finger, accusing the boy of being the phantom buyer of the coat. Confused by the gossip, the protagonist hears the doorbell ring, feeling the atmosphere grow heavy for him in the middle of the chic store. Returning to the boutique owner, the boy tries to console the redhead, apologizing for the mess and trying to understand why she refused the sale. Smiling mischievously, the warrior says that men are a bit slow to pick up on the clues that are right in front of their faces. Completely bewildered, the hero swears he didn't figure out her plan and didn't ask to reserve any phantom leather merchandise. Laughing at his innocence, the sorceress explains that the reason she decided not to sell the garment is because she planned to give it to him as a gift. Shocked by the exorbitantly expensive gift, the boy freezes, unsure how to react to the unexpected luxury. Stating loudly and clearly, the redhead declares that she wants to repay the life saved with the best self-defense item in the entire store. In brutal honesty, the protagonist refuses the gift, stating that at the crucial moment he acted not out of nobility but out of pure fighting impulse. Ignoring the hero's sincerity, the owner says that the reason doesn't matter as long as she's alive to tell the story. With shining eyes, she gives him her final advice, telling him to survive to save others and not let the sacrifice be in vain. Hearing that speech, the boy mentally admits that this is the first time someone has thanked him for being alive. Accustomed to being humiliated by his family of suited monsters, he had always dealt with disgust and harsh criticism since he was a kid. With a genuine smile, the little Pratinha confesses that receiving affection isn't all bad and gladly accepts the gift. With the agreements made, the hero thanks her for her courtesy, and the sorceress is so excited that she pulls out the measuring tape, shouting with joy to take his measurements right then and there. The scene jumps back to the landscape of floating mountains, where clouds cover the rocks of the divine realm. Sighing with boredom, the great immortal rests on a rock, soaring happily in the celestial heights. Chewing on a magical little plant, a veteran complains about the absurd monotony of living in the afterlife. Throwing his arms behind his head, the sword immortal Dombin questions what kind of perfect kingdom this is where there is absolutely nothing to do. Complaining about the dress code, the swordsman curses the other immortals, saying that everyone there is a boring old man dressed in white. Suddenly standing up, he points ahead, noticing that one of the masters has decided to change his appearance on the spur of the moment. Admiring the different style, the bald man smiles, recognizing Master Tang Gunak strolling through the mountains with a renewed air of dashing charm. Fascinated, the gossipy swordsman remarks that the Tang clan leader is dressing in an otherworldly fashion. Tired of always wearing the same immortal rag, he decides to learn how to make those modern and stylish clothes too. Excited to learn divine cutting and sewing, the bearded old man runs after Master Tang, ready to ask for some private lessons in modern fashion. Planning to buy the favor, the swordsman murmurs that he will bribe his colleague with a legendary item to facilitate the conversation. Displaying a brilliant magic apple, he pulls from his pocket the celestial Dao fruit, a rare and extremely valuable treasure from the immortal realm. Back on Earth, the day dawns in the free city, and the walls of Mr. Beak's orphanage are so peaceful. Waking up in a cool room, the protagonist puts on a clean white shirt, feeling refreshed in his new base of operations. Picking up his cell phone, he calls his father directly to let him know that the batch with the purified antidote essence is ready to be collected. Relieved by the news, the orphanage director sighs heavily, recounting that the pharmacy was nearly swallowed up by frantic shoppers. On screen, a flashback shows the crowd of hunters storming the store and fighting with punches and kicks in the middle of the line. Desperate for potions, the gang depleted the stock in the blink of an eye, leaving the giant leader begging for more healing vials. With a satisfied smile, the hero tells the old man to announce the new shipment on the radio, but imposes a limit of 2 small bottles per person to avoid a monopoly. Advising the old man, the boy says that limiting purchases is essential to avoid the black market and speculation. Sighing with relief, the old man agrees, since dealing with counterfeiters and swindlers has always been a problem in the free city. Grabbing a vial of the antidote, the protagonist takes a sip, laughing at the idea of someone trying to copy the secret recipe. Since medicine requires the refinement of the art of the poisonous spirit, piracy using only herbs is literally impossible. Changing the subject, the director announces that production is frantic, and the factory needs the packaging machines to meet its target of 20,000 jars per day. Far away, two gossipy children arrive in a dark basement, saying that the place is haunted by a ghost. Trembling with fear, the girl argues that perhaps it's not a ghost, but rather a beggar using their secret base. Gathering his courage, the boy pushes open the heavy metal door to confront the intruder in the hideout. When the light hits them, they are confronted with a sinister silhouette, surrounded by stacked boxes in the dark. With a grim smile, the protagonist opens his green eyes and sends a terrifying hello to the invading brats. With their souls leaving their bodies, the boys scream in terror, thinking the ghost monster is going to swallow them both. Running desperately, the children flee, crying and screaming that the ghost stinks terribly. Sighing, the hero confesses that packing poison essence all night really did leave him smelling like death. Smelling his own shirt, he realizes the stench is terrible and that he urgently needs a shower before going out into the street. Suddenly, the head of the hunting team arrives sweating, begging the kid to cover the shift of a loader who ran away at the last minute. Almost breathless, the chief kneels, confirming if that is indeed the savior from the last hunt. At that moment, the secretary with glasses arrives carrying a giant package while the gossipy children point and say that the smelly ghost lives there. Curious about the surprise visit, the hero asks who the young woman in the suit is in the middle of that dirty basement. In a very formal manner, the girl introduces herself as Seoyeon, secretary at Mr. Beek's orphanage. Laughing at the situation, the boy understands that she came to check the kid's story about the smelly ghost. Handing over the enormous box, the secretary informs the customer that Forja MX sent the special order, and she took advantage of the trip to deliver it. With shining eyes, the protagonist thanks the young woman for her service, knowing that the weapons are finally ready. Covering her nose, the secretary quickly bids him farewell and wishes him well, telling him to get along well with her father. Running out with the boys, the woman sends the final message to the hero: take a deep shower before stepping outside. Laughing to himself, the boy ignores the stench and decides to open the package first, extremely anxious to see what the divine daggers look like. Tearing the tape, he pulls out the cardboard and immediately finds a funny note stuck to the bottom of the box. In the message, the buff blacksmith sends a kiss, asking the hero to test the merchandise and report any defects in the metal. Holding the willow leaf dagger, the green Kai dominates the protagonist's hands, infusing raw magic into the pure blade. Taking a deep breath, the boy feels the perfect balance of the heavy weapon. Smiling at the job well done, he praises the cut and the raw solidity of the material, capable of tearing through steel with ease. Throwing the dagger into the air, the weight and grip are so perfect that the kid feels like an instant master of Mortal Kombat. Thinking about the whole outfit, he remarks that he can hardly wait for the magic overcoat to hide the entire arsenal. In a flash of memory, the redhead from the boutique appears, promising to make the best leather outfit for free and deliver it within the tight deadline. Looking at the clock, the protagonist sees that the time for the hunt with the team leader is almost up. Cutting to the edge of Demon Mountain Jiri, the giant trees swallow the sunlight, heralding grave danger. The freshly bathed boy rushes in to tell his boss that he's ready for work and apologizes for being late. The old man smiles broadly and greets the hero, thanking him for saving the team's skin by covering for the lack of carriers. The sincere leader thanks him for the last-minute favor, saying that without his support the mission would have failed. Disguising his arrogance, the boy replies that it's the least he can do, given his indebtedness to the older boss who helped him before. Out of nowhere, a grim-faced swordsman with a sheathed katana cuts the conversation short and orders the farmhand to properly apologize for being late. Without scruples, the attacking team member curses at the loader, humiliating him for making the professionals wait. Surprised by the rudeness, the boy glances sideways and remembers that he arrived right on time, without being a single minute late. Drawing his sword, the warrior goes berserk, calling the protagonist a tattooless piece of trash and demanding that the pawn kneel on the ground or take a slice of metal to the face. With his eyes gleaming with pure murderous Kai, the boy holds back his fury and thinks to himself that it's because of dealing with garbage like this that every garbage collector flees the city. Desperate, the leader steps forward, trying to calm the situation so as not to lose the $1 million hunting contract. Swallowing his pride so as not to ruin the old man's mission, the hero lowers his head and offers a curt apology to the sword-wielding fool. With a wicked grin, the hunter sheathes his weapon, laughing that the farmhand was lucky not to have been turned into mincemeat. The leader breathes a sigh of relief, thanking them for their sacrifice, and calls the rest of the team to head towards danger. Walking through the forest, the boy is surprised to find only 7 people in a group that should be much larger. Complaining to the boss, he questions why the porter's security is so weak, with so few guards to deal with hordes of monsters. Enraged by the audacity, the swordsman curses the boy, telling him to shut up and not question the plan. Pissed off, the sword-wielding guy grumbles that the farmhand only talks nonsense and must be wanting to kick the bucket soon. Whispering with a demonic look, the hero thinks aloud that if the fool keeps barking, he's the one who's going to die. Drawing his weapon again, the warrior advances, threatening to slice the hero to pieces right there because of the sharp retort. Suddenly, Captain Kwon appears and grabs his subordinate's shoulder, telling the lackey to relax if he doesn't want to become bait for the orcs. Laughing in the protagonist's face, the brute mocks him, saying that today's farmhands are too lazy. Displaying his cowardly authority, the captain warns that if the porter makes another peep, he will let the swordsman slice him up without mercy. With pure Kai emanating from his body and his eyes fixed on his enemies, the hero wonders why on earth he has to put up with this bunch of human trash. Ending the discussion, the leader orders everyone to turn over the mosquito antidote bottle, so they can cross the poison zone without dying. Sighing, the old chief apologizes to the boy, and confesses that he didn't bring more people only because the hunters refused to pay for the overpriced antidote. The team leader explains that today's mission isn't orcs, but rather those damned blade-tooth martens that are a nuisance near the poisonous lake. To calm the situation, the old man hands the protagonist a vial of the antidote reserved for him, and asks him to drink it quickly so they can both be okay. Laughing at the irony, the boy picks up his own invention and drinks the essence with a crooked smile on his face. In his mind, the image of the redhead from the boutique resonates along with the advice to save others, instead of being a cold-blooded killer. Drinking the cure, the boy confesses to himself that brutal power did not transform him into a pure and righteous hero. Looking at the trash team, the boy fights against the murderous instinct, feeling his fists itching to break the necks of the 2 slackers. Trying to control himself, he questions why he feels such a thirst for blood since he came down to the mountain. The ghostly image of Master Tang emerges, showing that his soul's legacy is not just about perfect martial techniques. As the poison demon, the veteran was sadistic and focused on crushing anyone who talked trash or crossed his path with martial disgust. Now sharing the same toxic heart, the brutal wills of the former master are beginning to merge directly with those of the boy himself. Even while controlling himself, the hero admits that having a cold personality in a world of monsters is the perfect recipe for surviving unscathed. Patting the old boss on the back, the protagonist tells him to stick around when things get tough so that nothing bad happens to his sharp teeth. Shifting his expression to a focused, dark gaze, the boy warns his partner not to think this is a joke. Sensing the stench of misfortune, the hero declares that giant wolves have been stalking the pack and sniffing out their blood for a long time. Far from all this modern chaos, the scene flashes back to the legendary kingdom of Murim, where the Grand Zhuge clan plots its ancient alliances. Back in the past, Master Tang Gunak confronts the bloody massacre around him. Desperate, the patriarch of the Zhuge clan yells, asking if the old man has gone mad to attack them. With a cold smile, the poison demon calmly calls the enemy shameless. Then a monstrous purple aura explodes in the sky, revealing the absolute power of the legend. Trembling, the leader Zhuge shouts that this is slander against one of the 5 great clans. Impatient, the master retorts, warning that lackeys of demonic cults always cry innocence at the moment of death. In a tone of pure mockery, the old man tells the wretch to send his regards to his son in hell. Memory makes it clear that the false leader slaughtered innocents to manufacture demonic blood pills. Throwing the truth into the mix, the child hero questions whether the trash still thinks it's just slander. Cold as ice, the swordsman warns that he hates scum who use the weak as a shield to save their own necks. Terrified, the patriarch begs for his life, promising to tell everything about the enemy leader. Interrupting the weeping, the Avenger warns that thousands of righteous warriors died in vain because of that betrayal. With eyes blazing with fury, the Master of Poison decrees the end, ordering the trash to disappear. In a flash of absolute purple, the blow obliterates the traitor's existence without leaving a trace. Closing the account, the veteran promises that he will soon send that celestial demon to the same hole. Straight to the grave, the swords stuck in the ground mark the end of that past battle. Returning to the present day, the hunt in the forest seems to have been a success against the poisonous martens. Displaying the energy crystals, the idiotic swordsman mocks our boy, calling him a useless coward. In the most utter deceit, the captain flatters the warrior, saying that the success of the mission is entirely due to his merit. With a vein throbbing in his forehead, the hero seriously considers chopping up the two suckers right there. But he soon regains his senses, deciding that that bunch of trash isn't even good for a heating sacrifice. Oblivious to the danger, the swordsman continues to boast about having cleared the area thanks to the miracle potion. Suddenly the undergrowth shakes heavily, and a terrifying sound cuts through the group's celebration. Confused, the caravan leader asks the boy what the hell is about to begin. Giant red claws emerge from the shadows, revealing the most feared beast of Mount Jiri. Like a living nightmare, the ruby eyes gleam, confirming that the team has fallen into a brutal ambush. Trembling like a green twig, the captain stammers, recognizing the monster's terrifying fur. Emerging from the trees, a monstrous red fur wolf takes a stance, ready for the carnage. Thinking he can handle the task, the sword-wielding warrior asks for calm, but the protagonist warns that the only way out is to run like hell. After all, that canine abomination requires at least a hunter of average skill to avoid becoming a massacre. The animal's loud roar is already frightening, but the worst part is that this species always hunts in pairs. In an impulsive movement, the cocky swordsman advances, attempting a direct cut at the beast. Full of confidence, the idiot yells, sending the monster to hell with a vertical attack. In an absurd reflex, the wolf dodges the steel as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Startled, the idiot freezes, realizing the creature's speed is on another level. To make matters worse, the alpha female emerges from the other side, closing in on the team of hunters. Desperate, the girl in the group panics, but the warrior tells her to shut up and follow their standard plan. Through whispers, the hero hears that the plan is simply to throw the porters to the wolves and sneak away. With utter audacity, the cowardly hunter tells our boy that he's counting on him to take the fall. With a grimace, the boy pulls the magic dagger from his sleeve and promises to show what he's capable of. In a single lethal shot, he hurls the knife, enveloped in pure poisonous energy. A beam of green light streaks across the forest at a speed impossible to follow with the naked eye. Then a dry bang crackles in the air, showing that the weapon has hit the target with maximum force. Shocked, the captain's eyes widen, unable to understand where that absurd move came from. Boiling with hatred, the little protagonist refuses to accept that the group of supposed protectors prefers to throw the weak to the lions. Covered in an emerald aura, the hero repeats the master's words, saying that he hates trash that uses others as a shield. Screaming in pain, the swordsman falls to his knees with his severed ear gushing blood everywhere. Confused and in shock, the traitor looks ahead, trying to process what has just happened. On the dirt floor, one of the red wolves is already completely dead and stretched out in the dust. Trembling with fear, the captain points to the carcass, unable to believe that the porter killed the beast with a single attack. Telling everyone to shut up, the kid stomps firmly on the ground, dominating the entire environment. Cold and frightening, the protagonist warns that he's in a terrible mood, and anyone who takes one more step will turn into a corpse. Facing the team's trash, the hero asks a very direct question about their rotten past. Questioning the cowardice, the boy wants to know if they always sacrificed innocent pawns to save their own skin during hunts. Without a shred of remorse, the swordsman roars that the weak were born to die at the hands of the awakened hunters. Faced with this disgusting confession, the hero closes his eyes, perfectly understanding what kind of vermin he's dealing with. In a somber tone, the boy decides that it is only right to make the traitor taste his own medicine. With a superhuman leap, the boy flies through the air and lands directly on top of a giant rock. Completely bewildered, the rest of the useless team stares upwards with blank expressions. Sitting high up like a king, the protagonist announces that he has already killed the male and now they have to deal with the furious she-wolf. Furious at the order, the team's big guy curses the boy, asking if he's lost all sense of the danger of angering an awakened one. When the girl begs him to fight, the brute loses his temper and aggressively tells his colleague to shut up. As punishment for his stubbornness, the hero throws another dagger, severing the big guy's ear amidst the chaos. With a chilling stare, the protagonist reiterates the basic rule that he's just the porter and the dirty work is for the warriors. Laughing at the irony, the boy questions where all that macho posturing they had against smaller animals went. Right below, the crimson beast drools with hatred, ready to tear open any available throats. Pronouncing the sentence, the hero orders the useless hunters to do their job and fight for real. Panic grips the wounded swordsman as the monster turns its demonic gaze directly to him. Trying to maintain his swagger, the idiot shouts that he won't follow orders from a hired boy. However, the alpha she-wolf ignores the nonsense and charges forward, foaming with fury over her partner's death. In sheer desperation, the cowardly leader orders the team to scatter, each for themselves. Too late, the beast's claws reach the swordsman, hurling the trash away with a crushing blow. Holding his own bloody head, the big guy curses our hero, promising revenge. Before the threat is over, the wolf's gigantic jaws open wide on his back. Chaos reigns in the forest, as the creature slaughters the cowards in exactly the way they slaughtered the weak. Pulling back its claws, the red wolf brings down its full weight on the traitorous leader, ready to rip his head off. With a quick bite, the beast feasts in the middle of the forest, while blood splatters on the surrounding trees. Shocked by the bloodbath, the team captain crawls backward, stammering that the monster is coming for him now. Sitting comfortably on the rock, the hero looks at the scene with boredom and says that he would have left them alive if they had just run away at the beginning. Facing the human trash, the kid realizes that killing the first wolf only gave them more courage to try and give idiotic orders. With no other choice, the protagonist decides he'll have to get his hands dirty to finish off the enraged she-wolf. Leaping from the rock with his hand glowing with poisonous kai, the boy decrees the death of the mutant creature. Like a green meteor, the hero strikes the beast squarely in the head, tearing through the air with the sound of the impact. Displaying his ultimate power, he invokes the blood-poison double palms technique, crushing the wolf to the ground. A crater opens up in the earth, scattering dust and pure toxins everywhere. Still trembling, Captain Crown wonders how the tattoo-less kid can have the strength of a master warrior. Putting the pieces together, the leader remembers the day of the orcs, and deduces that the porter must have killed the entire horde by himself. Shaking the dust from his hands, the hero smiles, satisfied to have stretched after weeks of just brewing potion in the basement. Looking down at him, the protagonist cynically asks if the captain is alive and well after the Screaming for mercy, the leader throws himself to the ground, begging not to be sliced up like his other dead partners. Confused by the old man's attitude, the boy swears he has no intention of killing him right there and then. Helping the boss get up, the hero assures him that he's not a psychopath and asks him to calm down. Relieved, the leader takes a deep breath and tries to calm his heart, which is almost leaping out of his chest from fear. Taking advantage of the atmosphere, the boy asks a small favor of his father, asking him to forget everything he saw in the forest today. Understanding the message, the captain swears up and down that he went blind and didn't see any porter kill any red wolf. Laughing at their obedience, the boy thanks them and suggests they get off that mountain before more animals show up. Leaving the bodies of the swordsman and the brute behind, the pair begin their walk back to base. Cold and practical, the protagonist comments that the monsters will quickly dispose of the corpses by cleaning up the evidence. Thinking aloud, the hero reflects that although he did not deliver the final blow to the traitors, he also feels no guilt for letting them die. Changing scenery, the narrative jumps inside Garai Castle, directly to the luxurious headquarters of YJ Pharmacy. In the meeting room, the atmosphere is tense as the suits discuss numbers and profits. With a fist on the table, the branch manager yells that potion sales have dropped by half overnight. Throwing the newspaper on the table, the headline proclaims that Beek's little shop became the richest pharmacy in town overnight. Fuming with rage, the executive complains that the team dropped the ball and let the corner pharmacy rip off the entire market, with an antidote they swore was fake. Questioning the partners, the director of another branch asks if he is the only one who finds the lack of control over the patent strain. Complaining about the autonomous committee, the chubby mobster blames the free government for protecting Beek's pharmacy by using the orphanage as a social shield. Irritated by the shouting, the slick director asks them to focus on the solution instead of whining like children. Attempting to mediate the dispute, CEO Joe raises his hands, asking the stressed partners to calm down. Smiling confidently, he suggests they stop testing the waters and immediately share the results of the secret analyses they commissioned on the potion. Swallowing hard, the mobster admits that the cutting-edge laboratories failed miserably in trying to copy the magic recipe for the antidote. Without losing his composure, the executive assures that it's only a matter of time before they manage to replicate the herb mixture. Losing his patience, the big guy shouts that they don't have time, and if they keep waiting they'll go bankrupt before the month is over. Maintaining his composure, CEO Joe smiles and suggests they resolve the problem the traditional way they do when the paperwork doesn't work. Enjoying the threatening tone, the chubby man laughs, asking if the investigation into the creator of the drug is over yet. By pressing a button, the leader of the table projects the hero's character sheet onto the big screen for everyone to see. The report displays the face of 29-year-old Kim Tae-ju, a former discharged officer and now a millionaire inventor. Reading the profile, the directors are shocked to discover that the boy is the eldest son of a hardline general from Paju. Laughing in astonishment, the CEO reveals that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and the boy's real story is far more humiliating. According to informants, the hero was expelled from home for being an outcast, and his own father is ashamed of his existence. Dying of laughter, the mobster celebrates the discovery, knowing that the protagonist has no clan protection whatsoever. Confirming the evil plan, the CEO deduces that if they find the boy, they can force him to hand over the rights to the antidote by force. With a sadistic grin, the dandy warns that if the kid refuses, they might spill some blood classic style to make him sign. Cutting to the Samhain Empire's defense base, the army is also dealing with the monster crisis and the fame of the orphanage potion. In the commander's office, a knock on the door interrupts the burly general's reports. Greeting the chief, the lieutenant enters and confirms that the investigation into the antidote manufacturer has yielded results. Handing over the folder, the soldier explains that they used contacts from the Gurai Commission to gather the complete file on the mysterious inventor. Reading the dossier, the commander immediately recognizes that the rejected Mana is the illegitimate son of General Kim. Lamenting the lack of stock, the military leader recalls that he tried to order the medicine, but the committee blocked the sale because of past imperial disputes. The commander slams his fist on the table and sees the perfect opportunity to obtain the potions and save the army from the imminent invasion. Laughing at his luck, he plays his trump card, stating that father and son always have ties that can be used to force an advantageous contract. The scene focuses on the Kim family's luxurious home in the Paju domain, where stepmother Mitsui keeps a close eye on everything. On the phone, the general obeys the order of his superior commander to get in touch with his missing son. Sighing with relief, the old man admits with surprise that the trashy kid is not only alive, but has become someone important. The stepmother overhears everything and enters the room furious, questioning how that useless person managed to create something valuable if he never went to college. Desperate to get her hands on the money, the shrew proposes invading Gurai to seize the boy's fortune under the pretext of protecting him from scams. Cold and heartless, the general orders the woman to shut up, asking her to leave the boy alone. Shocked by the refusal, she demands to know why he doesn't want to go after the money from his own blood. With a false smile, the witch argues that blood is blood, and they need to help the poor fellow manage his newfound fortune. Losing his patience, the father tells her to stop pretending to be nice, and reminds her that she was the one who ordered the boy killed in the mountains. The general, shouting, claims he knows everything about the assassination order, but chose to ignore it due to a lack of concrete evidence. Frenzied, the stepmother changes her tone and demands that he at least force the hero to hand over the antidotes to the army for free to guarantee her own husband's promotion. Without scruples, the shrew throws in their faces that the family is bankrupt because of Japan, and that the hero is their last chance for financial salvation. Crossing his fingers, the general rejects the advances and tells the woman to go bother the protagonist herself if she wants the potion so badly. Being practical, the old man states that he has already washed his hands of the matter and will not get involved in his surviving son's mess in any way. Turning her back, the stepmother stomps away, promising that she will solve the problem her way and by force. Alone in the room, the general relaxes in his armchair, relieved to know that his son did not kick the bucket in the fall off the cliff. Smiling slightly, the cruel father murmurs that he's happy the boy has found a purpose and a way to survive far from home. Away from the family feud, the Gurai market continues to buzz with hunters and shops packed under the late afternoon sun. Inside the flame boutique, the sorceress admires the masterpiece she just finished for her savior. Looking at the hero dressed in the stylish leather overcoat, the redhead grins broadly, stating that the garment fits him perfectly. Admiring his reflection in the mirror, our little protagonist thanks the coat made from monster remains, saying that the fit is impeccable. Testing the device, he praised its light weight and temperature control, particularly liking the understated gray color. Opening his overcoat, the boy shows that he's thrilled with the absurd number of pockets for hiding weapons. The redhead agrees, commenting that she adapted the design precisely because she noticed the arsenal he carries. Completely humble, the hero explains that he cannot accept such an expensive gift for free and asks the price, but the woman insists it is payment for him saving her life. Concerned about the mix-up, the boy remembers that the clothes were already reserved and that this must have caused a huge problem for the store. With a calm smile, the magician reassures the boy, explaining that she has already tracked down another coat and sent it directly to the stressed-out customer. To reciprocate the kindness, our protagonist points to the entire shelf, deciding to buy everything there all at once. With the card in hand, he asks to have the purchase processed immediately, revealing that he will give the clothes as gifts to the children at the orphanage and also help with sales at the boutique. Surprised by the attitude, the redhead accepts the purchase and asks for a moment to pack up the entire stock. Turning her back, the warrior thinks about how the boy is a different kind of awakened being and incredibly kind. Suddenly, a mysterious voice cuts through the atmosphere, calling out the boy's real name and saying that he has finally found him. Soon a man in a suit with a sadistic look appears, introducing himself as CEO Cho of the famous YJ Pharmacy. With his hand outstretched into the void, the rich man laughs, asking if the surprise visit made the hero uncomfortable. Cold as ice, the protagonist ignores the greeting and demands to know what the guy wants, and how on earth he found his location. To the point, the CEO assures that their association knows everything about the free city, and that they didn't come here to deceive. With a sinister look, the man in the suit asks for a small favor, wanting the boy to provide them with mosquito antidote as well. Giving a dry laugh, our hero bluntly asks if that's a friendly request or a disguised threat. In a very arrogant manner, the rich man announces that for now it's just a favor, but receives a blunt, no-nonsense response without any beating around the bush. Trying to bribe the kid, the villain offers to pay the contractual penalties and triple the price of the potion, but the protagonist refuses, saying he won't throw his own honor away. Undeterred, the CEO offers $5 billion for the secret formula, but the boy scoffs, asking if he would sell something so valuable for pocket chain. Turning his back, the hero hears the rich man threaten that life in the city is going to get very difficult, but he only says goodbye, telling him not to worry. Then the redhead returns with the bags, asking about the visit, but the boy pretends not to notice, saying it was just an annoying street vendor. Outside, the man in the suit slams the phone down, swearing that the stubborn brat will bitterly regret his choice. With a psychopathic look on his face, the villain answers the phone and orders his henchmen to begin the dirty work the way they always do. In the distance, the scene cuts to the sunset, illuminating the construction of the new village that the boy is funding. Timber and heavy materials fall to the ground, showing that the construction is in full swing. Arriving at the construction site with bags in his hands, the foreman announces that he's on the scene. Greeting the boss with a big smile, the foreman greets the boy and asks what's in those packages. In a humble tone, the hero explains that he bought clothes for the children at the orphanage, to repay all the help he has always received from the old man. Overcome with emotion almost to tears, the old worker held his face, completely surprised by the gift. Treating the boy like a saint, the old man promises that he will never forget the kindness and that he will work twice as hard on the project. Scratching the back of his neck somewhat awkwardly, the hero gives a genuine laugh, saying he's happy to have pleased the crowd. Observing the concrete skeleton, the foreman expresses his gratitude for the purchase of the building, assuring everyone that construction is progressing smoothly. Curious, the boy asks if the old man finally accepted the offer of a permanent job, and receives an enthusiastic yes in response. With a grim face, the hero confesses that the visit from the representative of Pharmacy YJ was the trigger for him to make a final decision. Startled by the name of the mafia, the worker stammers, asking if the rich man tried to hurt the boy in any way. Cracking his neck, our protagonist reveals that it was just a basic threat, but it served to remind him that powerless people are always treated like trash. To compete head-on, the plan now is to open his own pharmaceutical company, and he already has the foreman on board to continue the partnership. After giving his final orders, the hero asks the old man to take good care of the construction, because he's going to disappear for a while. Without any mystery, he warns that he's not going far but needs to focus on developing a new medicine before launching the company. Soon the boy's mind visualizes Master Tang's aura meditating in the air, recalling the most awesome martial art in the entire Murim world. In the memories, the power mixes the 5 basic elements, creating a monstrous vital energy through illumination. Divided into 10 rigorous stages, the technique demands an absurd level of control over toxic Kai to reach the top of the power pyramid. Upon reaching the maximum level, the user awakens the venomous spirit, gaining access to the secret technique, Rain of Flowers, which transforms everything into pure death. Just like the legend of the past, the boy focuses on melting his enemies using the same ultimate technique. Back in action, the scene shows the dreaded monster zone of Mount Jiri under a clear, deceptive sky. Suddenly, a colossal green explosion hits the forest floor, raising dust and destruction. Like a bolt of lightning, the boy darts through the air, delivering a brutal blow to a giant mutant bear. Focused on the carnage, the hero's gaze shows not a single shred of pity for the beasts. Wielding daggers bathed in toxic kai, he pierces the beast's carcass with swift, lethal blows. In a festival of emerald cuts, monsters fly through the air, being sliced before they even touch the ground. With no chance of defense, a mutant leopard cat falls dead amidst the torn foliage. Taking a deep breath, the protagonist comments that the tiger-sized cat was a bit more trouble than expected. Stepping on the carcass, he notices that the animal's hide was so tough that the magic blades were almost no match for it. Aware of his own strength, the hero admits that his current level is still a disgrace compared to the monstrous capacity he needs to reach. Tearing open the beast's flesh, the creature finds an enormous venom gland glowing in a bizarre purple hue. Swallowing the raw food, he reflects that he can level up absurdly fast just by consuming new toxins straight from the source. With shining eyes, the young man celebrates that his body has finally stabilized its power, and advancing to the next stage will no longer be a physical problem. After wiping my mouth, the plan now is to hunt the venomous water deer that possesses the perfect toxin to complete the day's objective. Almost forgetting about his own equipment, the boy runs to pull the daggers out of the leopard's carcass. Hidden in the bushes, the hunt continues, and he spots the venomous deer that has a reputation for being a very peaceful animal. Examining the prey, the hero notices two bizarre humps on the animal's back, resembling a deformed camel. In the blink of an eye, the deadly blades cut through the air, striking the target with no chance of escape. The impact is too lethal to be revealed when the humps explode violently at the moment of death, releasing the beast's hidden danger. Spreading a terrifying purple smoke, the corpse releases microscopic spores loaded with brutal toxin. Walking calmly through the poisonous gas, the boy ignores the deadly danger that would kill any experienced hunter. Holding a toxic bubble, he admires the substance famous for melting even a military gas mask in a matter of seconds. Obsessed with power, the little protagonist smiles, knowing he can't waste such a rare and valuable poison like that. With a serious face, the game ends, and the kid gets into a position of total focus to begin the brutal technique. With his hands open, he begins to condense all the toxic smoke from the environment into a single point of green energy. Mastering the magic, the sphere of pure poison forms, ready to be absorbed directly into the hero's veins. By drawing on his kai with maximum force, the boy's body suffers, absorbing that monstrous charge to transform it all into inner power. After hours of meditating and sweating profusely, he finally finishes absorbing all the deer toxins that were in the air. Gasping from the absurd amount of energy, the creature celebrates because now it understands every chemical component, and making the perfect antidote will be a piece of cake. With the toxin in hand, the boy notices that Earth has far more varied poisons than the ancient Murim world. Memories of his past weakness invade his mind, bringing with them the promise not to be useless again. Full of determination, the boy declares that the time of humiliation and suffering is finally over. In practice, the magic flows and the green sphere shines intensely, condensing in the middle of his hands. Sweat drips down his forehead, but the hero celebrates the feat of finally reaching the fourth stage of the poisonous technique. Exhausted after meditation, the warrior takes a deep breath and admits that the process took much longer than expected. In the light of dawn, the young man rises and confirms that he has discovered the perfect recipe for the new antidote. With his heavy backpack on his back, our little protagonist decides it's time to get going and head back to base. A strong chill runs through my stomach because of the threats from YJ Pharmacy during this time isolated in the woods. Back in the hiding place, the luggage falls straight onto the floor of the hold with a dull thud. In perfect tranquility, the hero informs Director Beak that he has finally returned safely from the forest. Standing before the completely empty shelves, the boy smiles, realizing that the store's sales have exploded. Almost having a heart attack from relief, the old man runs to the boy, revealing that he was desperate because he couldn't get in touch by phone. Right next to her, the secretary sighs with relief and also welcomes the runaway. To justify his disappearance, the young man says he turned everything off for training, but he soon finds the team's funeral-like demeanor strange and demands to know what happened. Getting straight to the point, The director reveals that the major companies have completely cut off the supply of ingredients to the pharmacy. To make matters worse, the government committee knocked on the door demanding the complete list of the secret formula. Without much thought, the kid solves the riddle and asks if that damn CEO Cho is behind this cowardly boycott. Saddened by the reality, the pharmacist confirms that the wealthy man has a guaranteed seat at the government committee meetings. Focused on the dark bottle, the old man warns that the worst possible scenario is a total ban on sales. With a cold look, the hero deduces that even the Empire's commissioner is bought off, and that the mafia attacks have only just begun. Pure bloodlust overflows in the warrior's eyes as he vows to crush this bunch of trash before they even breathe. Turning to the store manager, the plan clearly flows from his mouth, ordering a preemptive strike. Surprised by the audacity, the old man's eyes widen, not understanding how they will retaliate without any raw material. With an ironic smile, our hero orders the doors to be closed immediately, since the suits have invented lies about side effects. Clattering sounds echo through the street as the store's security bars descend, locking the business indefinitely. Hours later, the atmosphere changes to a lively dinner in the orphanage's backyard with everyone from the neighborhood gathered. Succulent chunks of meat disappear into the little protagonist's mouth, who lets out a cry praising the absurdly delicious taste of the meal. In fact, that luxury barbecue is made from the purified meat of the terrible poisonous mountain deer. According to the Empire's legends, this delicacy is so rare that even the most illustrious billionaires can't afford it, no matter how much money they have. Satisfied with the result, the boy celebrates having focused on that specific monster, which yielded a spectacular feast for the team. After all, the original plan was always to prevent innocent people from melting from the inside out, because of the damned toxin in the air. Focused on profits, the guy is already thinking about selling the magic barbecue after seeing the kids devouring it in a frenzy. A crazy idea pops into his head about supplying meat to the emperor, just to pick a fight with the super-strong palace guards. Raising a glass, Director Beak thanks them from the bottom of his heart for the luxurious meal that saved their night. Even the old man admits that transforming such a deadly plague into a new remedy is a completely terrifying feat of genius. But the concern quickly returns, and the pharmacist wonders if closing down the doors will be bad for business. Tossing another piece of meat into his mouth, the young master tells the old man to simply trust the process. Full of malice, the warrior turns his back, wondering who will suffer the most if the potion disappears from the market. The sun rises and the pharmacy window remains dark and blocked, to the general sadness of the free city. On the sidewalk, a group of hunters goes into a complete frenzy, yelling that they've been without their protective poison for 5 days. Soon, gossip spreads rampant among the bigwigs about the government having embargoed the formula because of bizarre side effects. Boiling with hatred, a mercenary in armor defends the drug, shouting that he himself drank liters of it and is still going strong. Suddenly, a hand aggressively pushes the crowd away, cutting off the argument in the middle of the sidewalk. The heavily armored warrior himself is pushed back without much difficulty by someone in authority. The one who emerges to maintain order is Master Lei, the dapper lord, demanding silence from the crowd with his sword in hand. Among the people, murmurs reveal that the bigwig is a pet dog of the YJ Pharmacy Mafia. Full of swagger, the master declares that the prohibition is official law and orders the mercenaries to disappear immediately. Without backing down, a hunter confronts them, demanding to know how on earth they're going to get into the forest without medical protection. The spark ignites the powder keg, and the entire street rebels, shouting for concrete proof of these negative effects. Faced with the popular revolt, the swordsman lets out a cynical smile, finding the whole mess hilarious. Patience runs out quickly, and the steel sings freely as the Lord asks since when human trash dares to answer him. The mere sound of the magic blade emerging from its sheath sends half the street running desperately for their lives. But the armored giant plants its feet firmly on the asphalt and refuses to retreat an inch. Covering his sword with pure blue aura, the villain focuses on the stubborn man and asks if he has the strength to sustain his rebellion. Terrified of the magic, the brute instantly loses his composure and runs away stammering apologies along the sidewalks. Huffing with boredom, the Lord sheathes his weapon, complaining about the pathetic level of adversaries he encounters in the city. Step by step, the warrior reflects that CEO Cho is being too presumptuous in trying to control the government and promises to deal with it later. Near the corner, a white luxury car brakes smoothly beside the stressed master. Inside the vehicle, the mafia CEO laughs on the phone, showering praise on someone powerful on the other end of the line. In the comfort of his leather seat, the rich man boasts that he controls the majority of the votes, and that the master of the sword is just a pawn on his chessboard. With a broad grin, the criminal confirms to his partner that the next phase of the scheme to take down the rival pharmacy is already underway. Ensuring a dirty victory, the executive decrees that the owners of the antidote will go bankrupt in less than a week, without receiving any new money. Cut straight to the Imperial Army HQ, where our protagonist sits facing the toughest generals in the region. Without wasting any time, the boy throws out the colossal offer to deliver 1,000,000 potions to the battalion, earning 50 billion silver coins at once. On the other side of the table, the supreme leader of the army listens to the absurd proposal, without moving a muscle in his face. Weighing the value of the negotiation, the bearded old man fixes his eyes directly on the soul of the young inventor. Taking a sip of tea, the little protagonist wonders to himself if the general thought the price was too steep for the Empire's coffers. Suddenly, a dark aura emanates from the old man, and the boy realizes that it is actually the face of extreme happiness of a war maniac. Breaking the tense silence, the soldier is surprised and asks how on earth the boy makes a profit charging so little for a bottled miracle. At that very moment, the bigwig turns to his assistant and orders him to empty the reserve fund to cover the astronomical bill without hesitation. Pulling out his trump card, the hero demands half the money up front and warns that the deal doesn't end with just mosquito potions. Pushing a bowl of dark goo onto the table, he reveals that he has created a completely new and unprecedented drug on the market. The mysterious substance is pure concentrated vital energy, drawn directly from the purified remains of the mutant deer he hunted. With that knowing smile, the boy crosses his legs and challenges the Supreme Commander to try the new product right there. Shocked by the lunchbox, the commander stammers and asks what kind of meat it is. Straight from the pan, the succulent meal shines, bursting with flavor. The old man happily praises the flavor, noting that he really needed something healthy for his diet. Without ceremony, our protagonist serves tea and reveals that the main course is venomous deer meat. At that very moment, the man in the suit chokes, remembering that this creature is famous for spewing lethal juice like a fountain. Almost breathless, the leader tries to catch his breath after the deadly scare. Recovered from the shock, the old man praises the audacity and warns that the armed forces need crazy people with that kind of courage. Cold as ice, the kid seriously considers whether it's worth signing the contract, or if he should just knock the old man out right there. From what they say, the Defense Legion is stationed right on the edge of the Empire, holding the line against the beasts. The commander candidly confides that the mission of controlling the hordes in the bush is a disguised death sentence. At that, the bearded man smiled with relief, assuring everyone that the boy's arrival was the miracle he had been waiting for. In a celebratory tone, the leader laughs loudly, celebrating the existence of the new antidote against deer venom. At that moment, a lieutenant enters the room saluting to announce that all the money has already been deposited. To clarify the situation, the old man reveals that the YJ Pharmacy Mafia backed down precisely because of the morning newspaper. Satisfied with the deal, the boss orders the lieutenant to stick close to our hero to ensure his protection. With a victorious look on his face, the old man thanks the boy for his support during this time of crisis. Visibly emotional, the lieutenant cries as he recalls the hardship the army has faced in recent weeks. In a bear hug, the commander grabs his subordinate, celebrating the victory. Extremely excited, the military officers swear they will use this opportunity to rise directly to the imperial court. Down the corridor, the soldier shouts cheers for our hero with contagious joy. Cut to the rich kid's mansion on the outskirts of the city. Inside, the brand new building smells of luxury and well-invested money. Seated in their luxurious office, the pair plan the official founding of their new company. With the newspaper in hand, the hero smiles contentedly, seeing that the contract with the army was deliberately leaked to the media. On the front page of the newspaper, the news story extols the creation of the new medicine and portrays the army as the hero of the story. After calculating everything, the kid announces that the advance money has already been used to pay off all the heavy debts. Furious with his former partners, the old man says he closed his accounts at the bank that betrayed them at the first threat. To calm things down, our warrior states that the change from the fortune went directly to improving the orphanage. Suddenly, the boy becomes serious and confesses that he can't run a pharmaceutical empire alone. Without further ado, he drops the bombshell and invites Director Beak to become an official partner in the business. Shocked by the proposal, the old man immediately refuses, saying that he only knows how to run a small corner shop. In response, the hero points out that he only knows how to mix poison, and that he needs someone with a silver tongue to sell it to. After taking a deep breath, the pharmacist accepts the mission, facing the challenge head-on. In an attempt to be humble, the old man suggests keeping only 10% of the profits, but receives an immediate no to his face. To get straight to the point, the boss demands to split the money into 70 to 30, or the company won't even open its doors. Immediately after accepting the deal, the old man thanks them for their generosity, but reveals that he will put someone much more capable in charge of the day-to-day administration. At that very moment, the image of the secretary with glasses comes to mind as the perfect candidate for the boss's job. Full of pride, the director assures that the girl is the brightest mind that has ever come out of his orphanage. Satisfied with the choice, the boy agrees immediately, stating that true talent will always be very welcome. With a firm handshake, the multi-billion-dollar partnership is finally sealed between the two. To name the empire, the boy puts together the initials and suggests the name Tihang Bio for the new pharmacy. Immediately afterwards, the old man recounts that he summoned an awakened warrior raised in an orphanage to be the company's bodyguard. Confused by the news, the protagonist frowns, not understanding the need for protection right now. In his own defense, the old man recalls that the mobster from YJ Pharmacy loves to send his henchmen to beat up rivals. Laughing loudly at the worry, our hero orders the guard to protect the children, since he himself knows very well how to take care of himself. Suspicious of the boy's arrogance, the old man gives him a sideways glance, doubting that he could handle a real fight. Because the boy has no tattoos on his face, the director thinks he has no awakening powers at all. Noticing the tense atmosphere, the protagonist ironically questions whether his business partner doesn't believe in his strength. In a swift movement, the hero takes off his stylish coat and prepares to show his skills. With no patience for misunderstandings, he orders the old man to call the security team right there to verify the situation. Wearing his combat jacket, the kid decides he's going hunting with the security team to show them who's in charge. With a grim expression, the hero marches off towards the dangerous jungle. Outside, the mountains of the Jirisan danger zone await, teeming with murderous beasts. During the trail, the mercenaries follow the boy, noticing the expensive equipment he is wearing. Filled with envy at the outfit, one of the warriors remarks that flaunting $4 billion worth of leather without a tattoo on your face is asking to die. With a relaxed pat on the shoulder, the hunter tries to play the experienced protector towards our protagonist. Full of swagger, the swordsman warns that monsters will start appearing from there on, and that he will guarantee the suit-wearing man's safety. With a sly smile, the hero tells the guard to relax and just call him older brother. Almost purple with embarrassment, the hunter apologizes, thinking the boss was elderly, and insists he stay hidden in the room. Cold as a stone, our little protagonist stares at the guard without blinking, amused by the team's arrogance. Dismissing the babysitter, the kid announces that he's already used to danger and doesn't need protection. At that moment, an ominous noise cuts through the air, and everyone instantly reached for their weapons. With his guard up, the hero senses a bizarre presence coming straight from the treetops. Dozens of red eyes gleam in the middle of the thicket, revealing a heavy ambush. In sheer panic, the swordsman's eyes widen as he recognizes the dreaded storm weasels. Without giving them time to think, the pack of beasts leaps with everything they have towards the group of hunters. Desperate, the guard curses his own luck when he realizes they are dealing with an entire pack of dogs right at the entrance to the forest. In an absurd reflex, our boy pulls handfuls of poisoned magic nails straight from his sleeve. A gigantic emerald explosion sweeps across the area, turning the attack into instant carnage. Logically, these pests attack in groups of 20 to tear apart any prey in seconds. But against the boy's absolute venom, the ravenous beasts turn to dust before they even touch the ground. Calm amidst the toxic smoke, the protagonist wipes his hands as if he had just killed mosquitoes. With a long sigh of boredom, the creature laments not even having needed to pull out its main dagger to resolve the mess. Focused on the economy, he recalls that he needs to pick up the nails again because the ammunition was expensive. With their jaws dropping, the entire team freezes as the boy turns his back and tells them to clean up the mess so they don't embarrass themselves. Faced with the devastation, the hero laments having fired more than 200 deadly nails at once, since the ammunition is now impossible to recover. With his eyes fixed on the destroyed thicket, the boy sighs heavily, calculating the financial loss from that area raid. Frustrated with the waste, the little protagonist wishes he had already reached the 7th level of the venomous art, so he could make the nails fly back into his hand. Completely shocked, the sword-wielding guard stammers and asks if the boy is an awakened master in disguise. Ignoring the interrogation, the impromptu leader announces that he will be taking the front line from now on. Almost stammering, the hunter murmurs that his father gave strict orders for protection. Impatient with the story, the hero turns his back and follows the trail, leaving the guard confused about who he really is. Step by step, the team now follows the boy's footsteps without questioning his authority. Suddenly, a water deer appears in the path, and the swordsman immediately asks what the attack plan is. With a confident smile, the little protagonist points to the creature, revealing that the monster doesn't attack because it knows its own toxicity. To get straight to the point, the order is clear. Everyone should drink the antidote because they themselves will be doing the hunting. Confused, the team hesitates, holding the small bottles and doubting whether the dark liquid actually works against the lethal gas. Focused on the medicine, the guard recalls that his own father trusted that mysterious boy completely. Convinced by the absurd strength he had just witnessed, the swordsman squeezes the vial, knowing that the potion's creator would not be bluffing. After drinking the liquid in one gulp, the warrior declares, focused, that now it is the team's turn to prove their worth in battle. With his sword in hand, the guard announces that he will go ahead and requests fire cover from his allies. In a swift advance, the hunter crosses the forest, weapon in hand, ready to slice up his prey. Cutting through the air, the blade descends with full force toward the venomous monster. Struck directly, the deer lets out a sharp cry of pure pain in the middle of the undergrowth. Immediately, the team covers their ears, feeling the absurd pressure of the creature's scream. With a single lethal blow, the swordsman splits the beast's body in 2 perfect halves. In desperation, a hunter shouts, telling everyone to be careful because the carcass is going to explode. With a muffled thud, the corpse smashes on the ground, releasing a terrifying purple cloud of deadly spores. Completely immersed in the lethal smoke, the warriors realize that the poison doesn't even tickle them. Observing from afar, our hero admits to himself that the medicine works even better than he imagined. Impressed by the magical protection, the swordsman recognizes the boy's absurd genius. The excited hunter celebrates with laughter, showing that she is completely unharmed and without any toxic scratches. Relieved, the team leader takes a deep breath, thanking the heavens that the potion had held the line. Walking through the lethal gas, the little protagonist mockingly asks if they finally believe in the power of the antidote. Filled with shame, the hunter sincerely apologizes for having doubted the hero's perfect invention. Since no one died, the boy's order is clear for the team to go even deeper into the danger zone. Before walking away, the protagonist remembers to order the guards to slice up the animal's meat, because it's worth pure gold. Away from the forest, the scene cuts directly to the grand capital of the Samhin Empire, filled with modern buildings. Right in the commercial center, the luxurious skyscraper of the Mirani Group stands out against the blue sky. Inside a fancy office, someone calls for the section chief, breaking the silence of the place. Seated at the table, the young woman with glasses, a former secretary at the orphanage, answers the call immediately. Without beating around the bush, the chubby manager bluntly states that he knows about her connection to the orphanage director. Surprised by the information, the girl confirms the source, but questions the reason for the sudden question. With a cynical smile, the boss orders her to drop all current projects immediately. Confused, the employee's eyes widen, unable to understand the abrupt change in function. With a sly look on his face, the manager asks a small favor, demanding that she travel directly to the Free City. Pressing the issue, he promises that it's just a simple task that needs to be resolved there. Banging a newspaper on the table, the guy shows the giant headline about the new pharmacy's multi-million-dollar contract with the army. Upon hearing the news, the young woman confirms that she has already read everything about the new cure for the lethal poison. Furious, the boss asks why she feigned dementia since her adoptive father's store is part of this billion-dollar company. Without scruples, the manager orders her to use her own father to steal the secret formula for the magic potion. Boiling with rage inside, the girl realizes that the boss wants to use her as a dirty spy. Just as she was about to answer, her cell phone started vibrating non-stop on the table. Seeing the director's name on the screen, she excuses herself from the suit-wearing jerk and answers the call. Maintaining a professional demeanor, the employee speaks to the old man in a very serious tone. With his arms crossed, the manager observes the scene, believing he has the girl in the palm of his hand. After a few seconds, the young woman turns off the device with a small smile. In a hurry, the chubby boss immediately asks if she has already accepted the mission of betraying the family. Getting up from her chair, the girl confirms with a puffed-out chest that she's going to pack her bags for the free city. Celebrating the response, the man in the suit tries to dictate the rules but is interrupted by the badge waving in his face. With the biggest smile in the world, the employee announces that she's quitting that awful company right then and there. Overflowing with hatred, the manager snaps, insulting the girl and saying that he always hated her arrogance. Yelling like a madman, the boss tries to humiliate the young woman by calling her a useless orphan. Away from the shouting of the office, the scene changes to our hero's mansion under the moonlight. In the garage, the captain and the team unload the boxes filled with the luxury meat from the hunt. Dismissing the troops, the boy thanks everyone for their hard work in the manual labor. Returning the respect, the swordsman tells the boss to rest, informing him that the team will take care of the rest. Concerned, the guard inquires about the boy's personal safety, given that the orders were clear. Laughing, the hero recalls the massacre in the forest and orders the team to focus on protecting the orphanage. In his mind, invading the children's house would be a social suicide capable of revolting the entire city. Even so, caution is paramount because the world is full of clueless lunatics wanting to steal the antidote. Especially in that lawless city where money talks much louder than morals. That is precisely why having loyal allies on the front lines is the only real defense for the new pharmaceutical company. Entering the empty company, the warrior plans the next steps for mass hiring to get the business up and running. Thoughtfully, he admits that the original plan was just to make a small profit, but the situation escalated into a billion-dollar empire. With the sound of the elevator opening, the creature smiles, assuming that being filthy rich is not a problem at all. Stepping into the luxurious room, he mentally gives thanks for finally having a real roof over his head. Staring into the void, the boy feels a bizarre strangeness for never having had a place of his own in his entire life. Taking off my coat brings back bad memories, reminding me that death was the only likely fate in the past. In a flash of memories, the hero relives his stepmother's betrayal and the merging of souls with the poison demon that transformed him into the living legend he is today. Lying in his new bed, our protagonist reflects that the best part of all this madness was meeting trustworthy people. With the base already established, he decides that the city of Garai will be the starting point for his empire. Far away, a group of thugs watches the building, and the gang leader confirms that the target is inside. In a highly mocking tone, the villain comments that the newcomer is getting too big for his britches buying expensive properties in the area. Filled with envy, the bandit recalls that the mosquito antidote is already a success, and the deer antidote is about to sell like hotcakes. Furious about the situation, the mobster grumbles that he knows very well about it and orders the henchman to shut up. Gritting his teeth, the leader confesses that if it weren't for CEO Cho's request, he himself would have stolen the entire formula. With no other option, the gang proceeds with the order not to cut off the drug supply to the big, suited man. Right at the door, the invaders enter in the dark and turn on their flashlights to search for the victim. In a whisper, the boss orders the team to administer the injection directly to the boy and throw the body into the car without making a sound. Near the bed, the shadow raises the syringe, ready to inject the poison into the sleeping hero. Out of nowhere, a loud bang cracks in the room and the big henchman takes a hard punch, falling hard to the ground. With a brutal reflex, the protagonist's hand grabs the bandit's arm, stopping the needle in midair. Cold and frightening, the creature warns that it even considered taking the injection on purpose, just to see what the drug was all about. Completely shocked, the leader takes a step back and yells at the other henchman to inject the poison into the kid right away. Trembling at the base, the intruder stammers, revealing that his own arm is paralyzed and won't move an inch. Shocked by the scene, the gang leader's eyes widen, unable to comprehend the witchcraft. At that moment, the protagonist raises the stolen syringe, and the bandit panics as he watches the weapon disappear from his hand. Tranquillo, the hero, ironically comments that he hates needles because they hurt the skin too much. One of the henchmen, quite confused, questions the boss about whether that boy is really a useless, rejected mana user. With the bottle in his hand, the boy asks in a threatening tone if the effect of the drug is weaker if it is swallowed. Furious, the mobster curses the hero and asks if he's lost all sense of danger stealing drugs so brazenly. Completely paralyzed, the villain freezes when he sees the target take the poison directly to his lips. With a maniacal grin, the boy squeezes the toxic liquid directly onto his tongue without a second thought. A sinister purple glow fills the hero's eyes as he savors the toxin and even asks for more. In the Free City, rumors always circulated that a gang from the favelas controlled heavy drug trafficking with government support. That very rotten merchandise now serves as a snack for our warrior to level up his skills. In the old days, Master Tang consumed any and all powerful substances from the martial arts world to strengthen his own body. Following the legend, the boy uses poisonous Kai to digest the drug and transform everything into pure energy. Facing the frightened bandits, he mockingly asks how they can withstand the effects of this bizarre chemical. Focused on the interrogation, the hero demands to know the name of the wretch who ordered the break-in at his house. In a panic, the leader refuses to speak, saying he will be killed if he opens his mouth, but the boy warns that he will reshape his face then. Cries of agony tear through the night as the gang tastes its own medicine in the worst possible style. The following morning, the city awakens to a hot rumor swirling through the main streets. Inside the car, Secretary Sioyan confirms that it was the boy himself who reported CEO Cho's scheme. With the report in hand, she explains that the gang broke into the house but got away with it, and even handed over the evidence against those who ordered the break-in. Running his hand through his hair, our protagonist laments having to deal with that annoying suit-wearing YJ guy again. In theory, resolving things with money would be faster, since Director Beak has a clean reputation in the community. But the slant-eyed mobster wasn't going to accept defeat quietly, and the conflict was going to last for months. Given this, the only logical way out was to throw the dirt into the fan and let the militia clean house. Arriving in the center, the boy gets out of the car and comes face to face with a crowd surrounding the kneeling bandits. Almost drooling, the gang leader begs for another dose of the drug in the middle of the street. Walking with style, the hero greets the crowd complaining about all the mess so early in the morning. Out of the corner of his eye, he notices Master Li arriving quickly at the location, accompanied by government guards. With a grim expression, the Sword Lord orders the militiamen to get out of the way, wanting to take charge. On the concrete floor, the addicted mobster continues begging for the toxin, oblivious to the danger. Cold as ice, the dapper lord calls the bandit's name and orders everyone to take a step back. With the blade gleaming, the master decrees the execution of the criminal right there, claiming imperial authority. In a flash of light, the sword descends, tearing through the air and silencing the henchman brutally and definitively. Outraged by the cover-up, our protagonist loudly questions why on earth the guy eliminated the key witness. Showing his cell phone screen, the boy displays a video of the mobster confessing to all the dirty orders given by the CEO of YJ Pharmacy. With a sarcastic smile, the boy accuses the Lord of already knowing everything and trying to cover it up. Irritated by the audacity, the swordsman frowns and demands to know the name of the cheeky person who is confronting him. At that very moment, the penny drops and the villain recognizes the name of the inventor of the famous magic antidote. Sighing with boredom, the hero asks if the execution scene was just to put his moral high ground. Full of swagger, the creature mocks, asking if that lord thinks he's such a big deal in the city. Recalling his memory, the master remembers the boy's face on the day of the orc attack when he was disguised as a porter. Convinced of his suspicion, the villain claims that the kid was the one who created the coveted formula. Disappointed, the lord remarks that the fame of the remedy made him expect something far more impressive. With his sword flashing pure lightning, the bigwig puffs out his chest and decrees that his words are the absolute law of that place. To conclude the matter, the villain offers the boy one last chance to let go of the deaths and forget about the mess. But the answer comes dry and direct, with the protagonist warning that he will not accept any deal with a mafia lackey. Ready for danger, the kid orders the master to try and stop him by force. With his magic blade, the dandy unleashes a barrage of sonic slashes at our hero. Without breaking a sweat, the creature dodges all blows with bizarre agility, letting the air cut through the wind. After the attack, the Lord points his weapon, praising the speed of whoever took down the henchman in a fight. With an arrogant little smile, he says that the boy even has decent movement since he survived the first attack. Boiling with hatred, the swordsman decrees the hero's death for having interfered with an awakened master twice in a row. Calmly amidst the chaos, our warrior draws his dagger and questions whether today's masters are always so boring. Straight to the enemy's eye, he bluntly asks what the guy is so confident in that he's so arrogant. In the blink of an eye, the hero activates the illusion technique, leaving the villain attacking only with shadows of Kai. Flying low, the boy prepares to pounce with the poisoned knife gleaming a deadly green. Purple sparks explode as weapons collide, showcasing the raw power of combat. Suddenly, a powerful voice echoes through the loudspeaker ordering the pair to stop fighting immediately. Raising dust on the asphalt, a gigantic military helicopter descends, full of armed soldiers ready to intervene. In a hard helicopter landing, General O descends like a superhero into the conflict zone. Firm footsteps on the asphalt announce the presence of the highest authority of the army in the defense region. With an ironic smile, the bearded old man stares at the dapper lord, wanting to know what he's doing so far from home. Full of swagger, the swordsman returns the question, asking if he perhaps needs permission to stroll around the city. Furious, the villain immediately accuses the army of trying to forcefully interfere in the free zone's affairs. Calmly, the commander raises his hands and announces that he is not there on a military mission today, but rather for a stroll. Setting aside the monstrous patent, the bearded man introduces himself only by his civilian name to avoid bureaucracy. Without the slightest bit of patience, the lord turns his back and tells everyone to mind their own business before things get worse. Without paying any attention to the jerk, the general goes straight to our protagonist, asking if the kid suffered any scratches in the attack. With a firm handshake, the hero assures that the body is 100% intact and without any damage. Soon the guy wants to know where this escort came from, and the old man introduces the martial arts monsters that arrived on the streetcar. On the front line, a giant anicap steps forward, revealing himself to be an absolute master of the defensive division. Right next to him, another martial brute crosses his arms, grinning with a thirst for trouble against the mafia. Completing the iron trio, another master snaps his fingers, eager to settle any dispute with brute force. Breaking a cold sweat, the swordsman realizes he's surrounded by 4 top-level warriors and understands that all hell has broken loose. With no tactical way out, the villain decides to retreat quietly, promising to return all this humiliation very soon. Smiling slightly, the commander questions the reason for such a hurry when the fun has barely begun. Pissed off, the lord growls, saying he doesn't have any free time to waste chatting nonsense in the middle of the street. In a pure theatrical performance, the bearded man widens his eyes, feigning surprise at the enemy's haste. Confused by the ironic reaction, the dapper man stops in his tracks and asks what the joke is this time. Without mincing words, the general warns that if the guy is so focused on the job, he should have already cleaned up that gang trash in the city. Trying to maintain the last vestiges of composure, the swordsman promises that the militia will punish the invaders as soon as he returns to HQ. With a grimace and changing his tone, the commander blocks the exit, warning that the rats are going straight to the military barracks right now. In sheer desperation, the villain plays the card of the political agreement that prohibits the military from interfering in autonomous jurisdiction. In a deadly confrontation, the old man lays the truth on the table, reminding everyone that those scumbags tried to kidnap a valuable personal friend of his. Appealing to the higher ranks, the lord shouts that this authoritarian attitude violates the official decrees of the emperor himself. At that exact moment, the general's murderous aura explodes like thunder, proving that he doesn't care about laws on paper. With blood in his eyes, the old man asks a simple question, wanting to know what the punishment would be if he ripped the head off the insolent man right there on the asphalt. Due to the absurd pressure of the leaking magic, the villain almost falls backward, struggling to hold his breath. Laughing, the soldiers of the army mock the terrified face of the cowardly swordsman who previously pretended to be a god. With his tail between his legs, the lord swallows his pride and yells at his own henchmen to retreat to the cars. With his back turned, the dapper man leaves the area full of hatred and publicly humiliated in front of the common people. Super relieved, our little protagonist takes a deep breath and thanks everyone for the epic rescue right at the moment of fatal trouble. Patting each other on the back, the old man laughs, announcing that now they both sink or swim in the same boat. With a lit cigarette to relieve stress, Director Beak thanks the heavens that the olive green cavalry was so quick. Concerned for the innocent civilians, the general closely checks if the old man from the orphanage is truly unharmed after the cowardly attack. In a somber tone, the hero confesses that the massacre would have been far too ugly if the riot police had been delayed by another 5 minutes. Handcuffed like Mana, the low-life mobsters tremble like a leaf being shoved into the back of the police van. With a punch to the hood of the vehicle, the general promises to personally hunt down and torture the cowardly suit-wearing man who ordered the crime. To everyone's surprise, the boy immediately refuses protection, stating that he will carry out this revenge with his own hands. On the contrary, the crown insists that any delay at the potion factory puts the lives of thousands of soldiers at direct risk. With the most vacant stare in the world, the boy vows a definitive solution that will prevent the Lord from even breathing in the same room as him. Focused on the scar on his own hand, the protagonist rewinds the fight, remembering the exact millisecond when his knife tore through his enemy's skin. Thoughtful and calculating, the warrior tries to guess whether the terrifying level 4 toxin does any real damage to the body of an awakened master. Faced with the chasm of brute strength difference, the hero's conclusion is simple. Either he becomes monstrously stronger soon or he ends up dead. With his fists clenched in fury, the beast vows never to go through such an embarrassment again. Hidden in the getaway car, the dapper lord curses the entire family tree of the boy and the meddling general. At a glance, he tugs at the sleeve of his torn jacket and notices a bizarre, radioactive green glow pulsing from the graze on his hand. Like a punch to the gut, the realization of the lethal danger hits him, and the master discovers that the kid's flying blade reeked of poison. An infernal pain melts the flesh and the swordsman begins to drip cold sweat, writhing in pure agony on the leather bench. Like a demonic parasite, emerald veins climb up his arm at a terrifying speed, corrupting all of the guy's mana. In the driver's seat, the henchman's eyes widen in the rearview mirror, terrified by the toxic magic destroying the invincible boss. In sheer desperation, the lackey stammers, asking what the hell is frying the guild's supreme leader system. Filled with pure hatred and spitting dark blood, the lord yells, ordering the driver to floor the accelerator all the way to the most expensive hospital in the city. Tires screeching furiously, the luxury Mercedes tears down the highway, dodging speed cameras and red lights like an out-of-control missile. Stunned by the brink of death, the villain finally wonders what incarnate demon our hero hides beneath that humble little face. Above the clouds, the army's armored combat helicopter floats in an extremely smooth flight back to the barracks. Thrown onto the cold floor of the cabin, the gang leader cries his heart out, begging for his life in exchange for revealing the secrets of the YJ CEO. With a devilish, villainous grin, General O refuses the offer, stating that the military spies already have the entire mafia dossier. Without the slightest hint of pity, the commander gives a curt nod to the executioner soldier guarding the door. With a violent mechanical bang, the heavy side door of the helicopter slid open, unleashing the icy wind of extreme altitude. Without any fuss, the elite soldier lifts the bandit by the collar, ignoring the coward's ridiculous tears and whimpers. With a sharp shove, the soldier throws the criminal into the void, and the desperate screams of the plummeting man cut through the silence of the sky. With his hands cleansed from the dirty work, the guard slams the door and formally reports that the organic cleaning was an absolute success. Cold as a machine, the general nods in approval of swift justice and decrees that the troops eliminate the suited CEO using the same method. To seal the Empire's coffers, the Crown signs the order dispatching an entire heavily armed platoon to escort the Tihung Bio Company. In the old fox mind of the military man, the masterstroke is to use this gigantic debt to transform the young hero into the army's personal lapdog. Far from the filth of the skies, life continues its chaotic flow in the middle of a crowded train station in the business district. With her designer handbag slung over her shoulder, the bespectacled former secretary crosses the crowded lobby, announcing on her cell phone that the trip has come to an end. On the other end of the line, the young genius's eyes widen in disbelief upon learning that the protagonist injected billions of clean one into their base of operations. On the sunny sidewalk, she shakes her head, laughing to herself as she remembers almost calling the police the first time, thinking the kid was a con artist. Already in the yellow taxi, she gives her brother a quick wave and focuses entirely on the big corporate mission ahead of her. In the back seat, the executive gives the driver the address of her childhood orphanage, so he can get going through the heavy traffic. Through the window, green nature replaces the concrete, as the girl finally pieces together the urgent reason why her adoptive father pleaded for her talents. The taxi ride ends triumphantly right in front of the humble iron gate of the Beak Orphanage, the true headquarters of a future billion-dollar empire. In the orphanage courtyard, the gang gathers around the bonfire for a lively party. With a broad smile, Director Beak listens to his adopted daughter's voice calling for him at the entrance. Full of joy, the former secretary approaches, saying that she absolutely could not miss her father's call. After the hug, the older man touches the girl's shoulder, thanking her for her presence with great affection and pride. Curious about the mess, she asks the reason for the party, and the director reveals that they are roasting the magical meat of the poisonous deer for dinner. Faced with this novelty, the young woman's eyes widened, as she understood the absurd and exorbitant cost of that nighttime banquet. To clear up any doubt, the old man says that her brother told the absolute truth about our hero's bizarre hunt. Without wasting any time, the pair walk straight to the cooking area where the smell of meat fills the air. Right in the middle of the children, the little chef carefully serves the dishes, asking the kids to blow on them before eating so they don't burn their tongues. By the campfire, the director finally introduces his brilliant daughter to our young pharmacy owner. The boy, completely at ease, smiles kindly, saying it's a pleasure to meet the famous Suoyin in person. A quick memory flashes through her mind, confirming that she had bumped into him at the store some time ago. Overcome with shame, the girl apologizes for her past rudeness and asks him to take good care of her at the new company. Satisfied with the humility, the protagonist promises that together they will make Tihang Bio grow monstrously. Out of nowhere, a military troop salutes as the major reports for official base security duty. Surprised by the number of guards, the boy thanks the army for their heavy presence in the orphanage's yard. In a very relaxed manner, he laughs, explaining that the house doesn't have enough rooms for so many people to sleep under the same roof. But the major shakes his hand firmly, assuring him that the troops brought tactical camping equipment so as not to cause any trouble. During the oath of protection, the soldier smells the magical meat and instantly loses focus on the mission. With the group quickly bonding, our hero sighs with relief that he will never have to fight this war alone again. Now the base of operations is completely fortified and full of strong allies watching every corner of the block. Far from the peace of the suburbs, the scene cuts directly to the imposing bureaucratic castle of the free city of Garai. Inside the autonomous committee, the atmosphere is like that of an Inquisition tribunal, with serious accusations of monopoly being read aloud. Face to face with the merciless judges, the suit-wearing man is pressed against the wall to confess to his dirty crimes. Foaming with pure hatred, the mafia CEO clenches his teeth and takes the blame, having nowhere to run at the moment. Down the dark corridor, the wretch curses the bigwigs who used to take his bribes and have now abandoned him to the lions. Completely paranoid, the villain tries to understand the flaw in the plan, since the gang has disappeared off the map and our protagonist is still breathing. Upon arriving at the VIP parking lot, he decides that the only smart course of action is to stay quiet until the police dust settles. Speeding across the deserted bridge in his luxury car, the criminal flees under cover of night to save his own skin. To the rich man's complete surprise, a mysterious motorcyclist pulls up beside the car window out of nowhere, ready to pounce. With no time to brake, the car suffers a brutal side impact and plunges straight off the cliff into the bottom of the icy river. Standing on the side of the dark road, the assassin picks up the radio and announces that the job of destroying the evidence has been completely finished. Trapped in the wreckage of the vehicle, the CEO sinks into the muddy water, fighting in vain for his last breath. In a crazy cut, the mobster wakes up coughing up water in the middle of a clean, super-lit secret laboratory. Through the door of the room, the master swordsman Lee enters with the most cynical look in the world, admiring the guinea pig. In his hand, the villain displays an extremely expensive elixir from the Mirani group that was miraculously used to resurrect the drowned man. Trembling with cold and fear, the former crime boss pleads for medical help, completely vulnerable on the metal stretcher. Desperate for survival, the human trash swallows the golden pill straight from the master's hand without asking the price. Immediately, a terrifying red energy explodes in his veins, magically regenerating his broken body. Laughing at the humiliation, the Lord confirms that spending 10 billion on the medicine was worth it just to see his partner's rat-like face. Recovered from the shock and puffing with power, the mobster feels his physical strength returning in full force. Overflowing with pure resentment, the first thing he does is curse our hero's name, promising bloody revenge. Far from this rotten conspiracy, the little protagonist walks through the giant forest, reflecting on the future of the business. In his mind, the pharmacy urgently needs new products, because relying on a single antidote won't sustain the company. For this reason, the hunt this time has the insane goal of finding the legendary giant moon bear and extracting the beast's gallbladder. With his eye on the strange flora of the place, the boy peels the bark off a sinister tree that oozes highly poisonous sap. After putting the toxic liquid directly on his tongue, he tastes the danger and praises the sweet and pure flavor of the toxin. Soon after, the creature encounters a deadly blue-bellied mutant frog, hidden among the damp foliage. With the squishy creature in hand, the hero is already planning to use the animal's slime to create a powerful anesthetic in the laboratory. Without warning, a giant centipede from the white woods sprouts from the earth, ready to sink its fangs into fresh flesh. Cold and practical, the boy grabs the monstrous insect by the neck, remembering that the bite of this creature is fatal even to giant monsters. In an instinctive reflex, the absorption magic kicks in and he devours the creature's essence, savoring the refreshing kai crackling through his veins. Out of nowhere, survival instincts kick in and the boy turns his head, feeling an overwhelming presence sprouting behind him. The heavy undergrowth sways violently, indicating that the true threat from the mountain has finally caught the scent of its prey. Stomping firmly on the ground, the gigantic moon bear emerges from the shadows, displaying the bright white mark prominently on its furry chest. With a ground-shaking roar, the beast bares its teeth, declaring total war against the small invader of its territory. Without losing his composure, the protagonist laughs at his great luck, having found the valuable target much sooner than the calculations predicted. Determined to go on the offensive, the boy unleashes a lightning-speed slashing attack, aiming directly at the colossal monster's face. To the warrior's surprise, the beast raises its clawed paw and repels the cutting magic as if it were a playful slap. Assessing the combat, the creature realizes that the speed of this furry war tank breaks the laws of physics. Filled with hatred, the buffoonish bear roars louder and charges toward the hero like a runaway bullet train. Using the secret technique of quick steps, our warrior narrowly dodges the murderous claws in midair. In an appeal to nature, the monster raises its back and shoots bony spines as if it were a biological machine gun. To defend himself in time, the boy conjures the poisonous blood palm, creating a brutal barrier against the rain of projectiles. The impact of the collision is so heavy that the clash of energies drags our hero, skidding without brakes, across the soft earth. Resorting entirely to the art of phantom footsteps, the boy multiplies himself in shadows, confusing the vision of the dumb beast. Despite the constant pressure, the protagonist notices that the creature's diamond skin doesn't suffer even a single scratch from the magical cuts. Cold under the tension of the fight, he admits that the beast has the level of an awakened master, and that the fourth stage of the technique will not be enough. Taking a deep breath, the creature accepts that the warming is over, and that the time has come to appeal to the forbidden power it has kept in its pocket. Without hesitating for a second, he pulls down the zipper of his jacket and takes out the vial of the secret weapon, ready to turn the tide of battle. Straight down the throat, the boy swallows the super-concentrated poison pill he made at home especially for this critical moment. Like a ticking time bomb, the toxin invades his meridians, causing a tsunami of green power that corrupts his very soul. The boy's eyes light up with a demonic emerald hue, and his calm voice confirms that the bodily mutation was a success. An explosion of poisonous kai tears through the sky, marking the absolute evolution to the fifth stage of the legendary spiritual art. Completely renewed, the little protege pulls out the clan's dark dagger and announces with a psychopathic smile that the slaughter is about to begin. With his hand outstretched, the boy summons shimmering butterflies of pure, poisonous kai and calls forth the lethal blood butterfly technique. In a fierce charge, the giant bear tries to attack, but the magical projectiles fly and cut through the air in all possible directions. Focused on controlling magic, the hero explains that this hidden art of the fifth stage allows one to freely alter the trajectory of weapons through internal energy. Soon the monstrous beast freezes in place, completely sliced to pieces, and the boy declares from afar that the fight is over. With a heavy thud, the monster collapses lifeless, and the protagonist celebrates the double achievement of reaching the fifth level and securing the perfect kill in the same play. Without further ado, the warrior stares at the carcass of the beast and announces loudly that the time has come to seize the main reward. Suddenly, a golden and sinister gallbladder appears, enveloped in light and pure magic, floating right in front of him. With his eyes fixed on the prize, the young master witnesses the absurd strength of the venom and realizes he needs to cover the organ with kai to prevent any damage during extraction. Quickly, the boy's hands emit emerald magic that envelops the glowing gland with almost surgical precision. Satisfied with the success of the plan, the hero holds the trophy, stating that the unprecedented elixir is now a reality, and declares the mission over, deciding to return to base.